Race against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty, then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds. And most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Draymond Green says the Knicks playoff run is a fluke. Suns fire Frank Vogel and hire Mike Budenholzer as the new head coach. And reports say that the Jets are trying to replace Nathaniel Hackett. And much, much more on a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Daryl Marks, my co-host, the Speedster, Speedy Petey. Remember, you could call us at 631-672-3108. On the board, our executive producer, Aaron Fishman. We call him Fish. And our sports minute man himself, Mr. Thomas Scoops. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me and Speedy PD. No Sean Smith anymore. Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. But you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, what's up, man?
Well, I found a fun fact. We were discussing Sean, and now he's not with us anymore. And I was telling this to Scoops. I wonder if Sean Smith played with the former Dolphins and Chiefs quarter Sean Smith, and they actually did it at one point. So there are two Sean Smiths on the 2013 Kansas City Chiefs. But
well,
like you said, not with us anymore, so we're not going to take that back.
I'm not taking shots at Sean. We all still love Sean, and I'm just going to say everything. I hope Sean Smith's father, his mother, is doing very, very well. There is no taking shots of him personally. I just think it's funny when everybody asks me, what happened to Sean? Sean's gone. He's no longer with us. So, again, no hard feelings to Sean Smith. Hopefully we can build our relationship back again with him. Obviously, certain things off air didn't work out. And hopefully he's moving forward and we move forward as we always do. So a shout out to Sean Smith. Again, it's been a crazy weekend. The weather is just absolutely crappy. I do not like the weather here in New York. It goes from hot to cold to rainy, no snow. I don't understand it. We live in a cold state and there is no snow. So it doesn't make any sense. But hey, you know what? Nothing does, ladies and gentlemen, as we live here in a country and a state that just has craziness. But I'm not going to get into that on this show. We have a great show lined up for you guys. A little bit later at 9:00, we'll be talking to a Grizzlies. The Grizzlies play-by-play and a Grizzlies guy, broadcaster Eric Hasseltine. He will be joining us. He's always fantastic. And I'm sure he has his thoughts on the Grizzlies this year and maybe hopefully in the future of this Memphis Grizzlies team, which obviously has their own problems. I think we had it matched up last time, Hasseltine and Chris Childs, if you don't remember.
Around the same time, yeah, like 2 weeks apart or something like that.
Yeah, so that's crazy. At 9:30, we'll be talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard, our friend, the great GOAT baller himself, Chris Childs. He'll be joining us all. Round of applause for Chris. Loving that. Snap, snap, snap. There he goes, Fish, clapping. Draymond Green says that the Knicks playoff run is an absolute fluke. We just love Draymond Green, don't we? He's just fantastic. Very lovable. Thank you. Suns fire Frank Vogel and hire Mike Budenholzer as the next head coach. So that's good news. But is it good news for the Phoenix Suns and their woes when it comes to some of their players? So I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Reports say that the Jets are trying to replace Nathaniel Hackett. There's a lot of reports of that over the last couple of days and a couple of weeks and couple of months. I don't think that's going to happen. The Giants are chosen to be featured on Hard Knocks this season. How does that work? Does the Giant fans like that? I don't know. If I was a Giant fan, I wouldn't like that because everybody that's on Hard Knocks does not have any success, especially during the season. So the Miami Dolphins did last year.
Yes,
but the Jets didn't. The Lions signed Jared Goff to a 4-year, $212 million contract. So for all you Lions fans out there, you should like that. Jared Goff is now the guy. He is the it factor for the great Lions, and I think the Lions are going to be the team to beat in the NFC this year. The Nevada Supreme Court takes the NFL's side on the Jon Gruden's lawsuit against them. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, as we all know the NFL likes to pay people off. Yeah. So I just speaking the truth. And NFL schedule release updates as the Jets and the Giants have released their schedule. Well, they have released the Jets and Giants schedule. So I'm interested to get into that as I know the Jets' first game of the season, not a good one. Monday Night Football, and I think in San Francisco.
Aaron Rodgers' demon place.
Oh, how wonderful against the 49ers. So we will get into that a little bit later in the show. And you can call us at 631-672-3108. But I want to get into the Draymond Green spectacular, as it is just absolutely spectacular that he is coming out. And as the Golden State Warriors are no conversation right now in the NBA, well, we'll get into the New York Knicks. Let's throw the Knicks under the bus. So why don't we get into it? On Inside the NBA, Draymond Green called the Knicks playoff run an absolute fluke. He compared it to 2018 Trailblazers and the 2021 Hawks, who both made the conference finals, but neither have won a playoff series since. Draymond also said at halftime of Game 5 that the Knicks can't get ahead of themselves despite having a 15-point lead. Comedian Tracy Morgan responded to Draymond Green and says, "Don't talk crap about my team." Morgan gave the microphone back to the reporter before Draymond had a chance to fire back at him. The Knicks lead the Pacers 3-2 and are a one win away from going to their first conference appearance and finals since 2000. Let me get into it with the Draymond Green spectacular, and I call it the spectacular because it should be a circus. This man, for the last couple of months, has nothing good to say. And it's not even about the Knicks. It's about the league. It's about certain players, even some of his own players, as he's thrown Steph Curry under the bus, as he's thrown Klay Thompson under the bus. And then all of a sudden at the end of the season, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring us all back together again. We're going to be matched up, and I'm going to push. I'm pro Trey bringing back Klay Thompson in the offseason, which I think is a bunch of crap. But I'm going to say this nice and clearly to Draymond Green, because it means nothing to me on what he thinks or what he has said to the public eye. This man has been nothing good to the NBA. Nothing. Everything that's come out on his podcast is an absolute joke. And I know he's trying to sell and he's trying to make money and ads for his company. Great for him. You want to get sponsorships, you want to get advertisements, good for you, Draymond Green. And by the way, I love that commercial, that car commercial that you're in with a little girl and shooting baskets. Is that supposed to be your daughter? Because you don't like anybody else. You don't like anybody. You want to throw everybody under the bus. As we've seen it over and over and over again, not only when you've been in the playoffs and stepping on people's private parts or hurting people or saying things off air or to the press about throwing players and superstars under the bus because you don't like them. But you know what? For a guy that loves Cinderella teams, why can't you support the New York Knicks? What is the reason on why you can't say anything good about what Jalen Brunson did this year? what the New York Knicks as an organization has done in the last 3 years, rebuilding an absolute joke? For a guy that likes to choke people on the court and hurt people and diminish what he has done as a player? Honestly, you're going to sit here and tell me that you are much of a man over the last couple of years from guys like John Moran, who's been caught pulling out a gun? I mean, honestly, you're trying to kill people on a basketball court, and then you trying to say that you didn't mean to do it. What do you mean you didn't mean to do it? You're putting a rear naked chokehold on a player in the middle of a game, and you don't mean to choke him? Come on, man. You're going to sell me that? And then you're going to throw the Knicks under the bus for all the great things that they've done this year. And listen, I don't expect the Knicks to win a championship this year. They're a year away from that. Their window is now open. Like I said last week, it is open. But Draymond Green doesn't want to do that. As we all know, the Golden State Warriors window has closed as their GM and their management is completely breaking apart. Their coach, who they just extended, Steve Kerr, could walk out at the end of the season. Who knows what's going to happen with that organization and that team? And one of the main reasons why is because he can't control Draymond Green. Everything that we've seen over the last couple of months has been an absolute joke. Not because of the Golden State Warriors rebuilding and trying to rebuild their organization. No. It's because Draymond Green can't shut the F up. He can't shut up. Everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is absolute rubbish. It's craziness. It's not real. And then to me, I give a lot of credit to Tracy Morgan because he's the only one that could stand up for an organization that's been an absolute joke. Honestly, the Knicks haven't been in conference finals since 2000, 99, 2000. They did lose. They went to a championship against the Spurs, and they got swept. Should they have been there? No. If that Chicago Bulls team stayed together on a short season, they'd probably knock off the Spurs in the finals.
Maybe if it's not a short season, who knows what the seeding would be.
You could thank everybody else on that, as far as the executives over there with the Chicago Bulls, on breaking that team apart with Rodman and Pippen, sending Pippen to Portland. I mean, seriously, and Michael Jordan retiring and then coming back as a bullet. I'm not going to tell you that because, honestly, it has nothing to do with Draymond Green throwing an organization under the bus that has not succeeded over the years, have been an absolute joke. What they did to Charles Oakley, okay? I almost said Barkley, but Charles Barkley, saying what he says about the organization and not liking the Knicks organization and saying, well, the Knicks are no good, but he gives Jalen Brunson all the credit. Jalen Brunson has been absolutely unbelievable. The find of Leon Rose, and I say the find of the last 4 years of the NBA. You could say whatever you want. Jalen Brunson was a second-round draft pick. He came from an organization and a team that looks pretty damn good right now. That Dallas could be heading off to the Western Conference Finals. They could be. It's tied 2-2, but they could win that series. They have an open chance of going to the Western Conference Finals, and who knows against who? Because the Timberwolves and Denver now are tied, and we're going to see what this range of craziness in the Western Conference Finals is going to be. But Draymond Green should not be talking about the New York Knicks because, by the way, this New York Knicks team not only crushed the Golden State Warriors this year, they made them look like secondhand basketball players. Steph Curry did not outplay Jalen Brunson in that game. As a matter of fact, Jalen Brunson outplayed Steph Curry, the great Steph Curry. And I'm not taking shots at him, even though I'm not a big fan of his.
He's still had a good year, but not Jalen Brunson-esque.
No. Jalen Brunson should have had more than where he landed in the MVP voting. I really do. I think he should have had first team votes, and I didn't understand that. I still don't understand it.
He has a legitimate case for third. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been fifth.
Yeah.
He was the best Eastern Conference player this year. He's a point guard, and point guards playing as good as he has in New York when the Knicks have never had a point guard that good in forever. I don't even remember the last guy. And don't tell me Walt Clyde Frazier, because Walt Clyde Frazier was more of a 2 than he was of a 1.
And also, you had 5 playoff games already with 40+ points, which has only one other player has done that in NBA history with 8. I believe it was LeBron. And that's what you're comparing him to. Like Steph Curry, your teammate, again, one of the greatest players ever, no doubt. Your teammate Steph Curry hasn't even had 5 40-point games in a single playoff run. And you guys went to the finals for 5 years in a row, won all these championships, won 4 championships, and Steph Curry didn't even do that. You're going to take shots at Jalen Brunson like that?
And here's another thing. And I know all you guys, all the Draymond Green fans out there that love what he has to say on his podcast and think that it's sellable to the fan base that he has following him. Here's what I'm going to say about Draymond Green that I'm just so thrown off on as an NBA insider and a guy that loves the game of basketball. Out of all the sports that I follow, basketball is my favorite. The Knicks have been my favorite team since I was a little boy. I've been following the Knicks since 1988. I followed those bad teams with Gerald Wilkins. Remember those guys? Kiki Vandeweghe, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Charles Smith. I could go on and on. Xavier McDaniel. I will go on and on and on about the New York Knicks. But let me ask you a question. Draymond Green, as a basketball fan, if he wants to throw the New York Knicks under the bus and he wants to say that it's a fluke, how about those fluky Golden State Warrior teams when he was drafted to those teams and they built those teams the way they did? The Knicks didn't draft these players. What they did is they brought a bunch of players together that fit the culture of the New York Knicks. That's the truth. That's the facts. You're not going to sell me about the organization for what it was and what it has been over the last couple of years. It's been an absolute joke.
And again, the process is still very good for what the Knicks are doing too. Like if you were to judge like a team building model of today's NBA, like the Knicks would probably be one of those 5 teams you would consider in that model. Maybe the Celtics in that mix, the Nuggets, the Thunder, teams like that. And the Knicks are right there with it with all the draft picks they've accumulated, making really good trades. And that's why him comparing him to the Trailblazers and the Hawks, those fluke runs, are not the same kind of thing. Portland was finally in the Western Conference Finals after only making it to the second round all those years. Then the Golden State, your Golden State Warriors swept them in the finals. And Atlanta, everyone knew was a surprise team that year when they were a 5 seed. They beat the Knicks, obviously, in the first round, and they beat the Sixers when the Sixers were a 1 seed. They were a surprise, though. Nobody expected them to have that team be very talented right away. The Knicks were a 2 seed that has very good depth, very good wing development. Jalen Brunson, who they rebirthed after in Dallas, where he wasn't as much of a scorer. He was a 16-point-a-game scorer. The Knicks have gotten him to a 28-point-a-game player, and like you said, a top 5 MVP candidate, where he should be probably higher. This is not a fluke. This is the ideal way to build a team. So that kind of statement's wrong in itself. But then just everything else you're taking shots at. And Carl's right. Having to listen to him on listen to Draymond on TNT is miserable because every player he's taking a shot at is just a player that he had a gripe with for whatever reason. When it comes to Nurkic, when it comes to Rudy Gobert now saying like the mountain is falling for him or something like that.
The mountain's definitely falling.
And maybe the Knicks, maybe there's something with DiVincenzo that he didn't like. So he's going to take a shot at the Knicks because when DiVincenzo's only there for 1 year with the Warriors, I don't know. But nevertheless, it's just flawed.
Well, he doesn't like DiVincenzo because DiVincenzo was all about supportive of Klay Thompson and some of the players that he didn't like on the team. That's really the truth.
That'll do it.
That's the damn truth. And I'm sorry. Again, I am not going to throw his personality and what he's trying to do with his product. He is trying to promote his product. That's what he's doing, and that's what's selling, and that's what the TV deals and what I don't know, TNT or ESPN is trying to do, bringing him on their show. They're trying to sell their product. And Draymond Green, because of all the craziness and all the stuff that he's done on and off the court, is sellable to ESPN or TNT. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring a personality. And he is a personality. There's no question. It's selling and trying to sell a player of that magnitude is definitely something that the league would love to do. And as we see what the NFL is trying to do with Tom Brady, bringing him as a broadcaster and as a spectator, we love that because Tom Brady is a knowledgeable person. He knows the game as well as he does. And you want to see great new things and great new content. And they believe that Tom Brady will do that in the next 9 years. That's why they gave him a $325 million contract. Now, I don't want to see Draymond Green on the NBA channel or All NBA or whatever the heck they're going to put him on when he decides to retire and tie up his laces. I don't want to see it. But again, I'm not the guy. I'm not going to be the guy that's promoting it. I'm also not the guy that's going to be paying his checks. So only time will tell in the future of what's going to happen when it comes to the public and the press and the future analyst, as an analyst, what Draymond Green's going to be as a professional or as a spectator.
Yeah, as a personality, like I can see why that kind of thing is being encouraged by NBA on TNT when you have somebody like Charles Barkley likes to say a lot of crazy things. Even Shaq, to an extent, does some crazy things too. But like that kind of thing.
Did you see him wrestle Charles Barkley?
Yeah, I did. That was pretty funny. But
that was
like the quirks of it fit what Draymond Green does, but like the analysis end of it is not going to fit that kind of thing. And Draymond Green has to realize that if he wants to do this in the future, like you have to have a little more credible analysis than what he's been putting out there, because again, every player he's taking shots at are just players that he has rivalries with, grudges with, whatever. And it hasn't gone away since that first incident 10 years ago with Steven Adams, OKC Thunder. Like that's the same kind of reputation you're going with that all these times later between the Gobert incident, like he punched his own teammate, Jordan Poole. Like we forget about that too. Like,
well, that's Draymond Green. That's what everybody is trying to sell. And again, it's a product that Draymond Green is selling right now. His podcast is doing very, very well on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Good for him. I hope it works out for him and him joining different organizations like TNT and maybe future ESPN guy. Good for him. I hope it works out for him after he leaves and decides to tie up his laces as a basketball player. To me, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to support what he has to say about the New York Knicks because he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's just me. As a fan, I'm just sitting here telling the truth. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus for the ability, especially of Jalen Brunson and what he has done, as he is tied right now with Bernard King in one playoff run with 40 or more points. It's unbelievable what he has done. You have to support a player like that. He is not a big player. He's a journeyman who was drafted in the second round, who's now with the Knicks and really been the face of the New York Knicks organization over the last couple of years. Woj reports that the Suns fired Frank Vogel and are after being swept in the first round by the Timberwolves. The Athletic reports that Mike Budenholzer will be hired as their new head coach. Budenholzer signs a 5-year, $50 million contract, fourth highest among NBA coaches. Budenholzer has a 424, 295 regular season record, an 89-46 playoff record, and won an NBA championship with the Bucks in 2021. Sources believe that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant had an influence in Vogel being fired. This will be Durant's sixth head coach in 6 years. So not a good sign. Not a good sign for the Suns. As we all know, Kevin Durant, over the last couple of years, especially with the Brooklyn Nets, as I have made my thoughts to his career as a Brooklyn Net to be a joke because he couldn't stay healthy. He's a great player. We all know what he is. He averaged, 26, 27 points last year. He can't stay healthy. He can be a great player and a big part of an organization and a way to win a championship, on a way to win a championship. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Kevin Durant has been a great Samaritan everywhere he's gone, because we all know with OKC, he was, he couldn't get along with Russell Westbrook at the end. And obviously OKC decided to part ways. Well, Kevin Durant decided to part ways with OKC to go and win a championship, or buy a winning championship with the Golden State Warriors. And he was successful, and he was a 2-time playoff MVP. Good for him. Good for him. But his 7 Twitter, what do they call it?
Burner accounts
was a joke. And he made excuses, and his agent made excuses about it. And over the last couple of years, he hasn't been a very good team player. Honestly, the Suns last year, with some of the players from that organization saying that Kevin Durant wasn't a team player in the locker room. Also, Devin Booker and him weren't getting along in the locker room in certain aspects of the season. So, I don't know what's going on. I am not the fly on the wall over there in Phoenix. I don't know what's going on. What I do know is bringing in a new coach is not going to necessarily give you a championship, okay? And I'm going to tell you this right now. If this doesn't work, you're going to hear a lot of rumblings over there in Phoenix that he wants out. And what are you going to get for him after you traded away big pieces and draft stock to the Brooklyn Nets? By the way, you bring in Bradley Beal, who has a no-trade contract. I don't know how that works. You have no point guard right now running your point, so you're going to trust in Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, or maybe even Bradley Beal, who's not a good ball handler. We all know that. I don't know where this team is going, and I think Budenholzer is a great coach. But guess what? None of those guys, besides maybe Devin Booker, could play defense. So how does that sell? I mean, Budenholzer is a defensive mind. He comes from the San Antonio Spurs. He comes from the Greg Popovich era. Okay, that's what he does. You're bringing him to a team that has all offense. There is no defense, as we all know. Now, is it going to help? Is he going to run great defensive style, a great defensive style of game? Maybe. Maybe it opens up opportunity for guys like Kevin Durant, who's a better defensive player than people think. But all in all, I don't think he's as good as people think he is. And again, I just sit here and wonder where the Phoenix Suns are as an organization and where they're going as an organization as a whole. Because honestly, in the offseason, I'm trading Devin Booker. I'm trading him. I could get a lot back for Devin Booker. Devin Booker is a star. He's a superstar. And he's the only chip, he's the only piece that the Phoenix Suns have right now that anybody wants. Now, everybody's going to say, well, I'll take Kevin Durant. What are you going to get? What do you have to trade for Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant is not worth a first-round draft pick. He might be worth a secondary player and maybe a late first-round draft pick if you're willing to trade for Kevin Durant, but you don't know what kind of Kevin Durant you're going to get back for him. Hey, how old is Kevin Durant? 35, 36?
I believe. And plus you have to meet the financial demands too. Because
Yes.
he's got to pay contracts.
You're going to match those financial demands too. That's a big problem. How are you going to sell that?
Not going to limit his trade market big time because there's a lot of teams that don't have max contracts and that team that could even get it to work if they even wanted to try that kind of thing. So that kind of thing could be able to do that is going to limit his trade market pretty much in half. And would a team want to undo that kind of thing after what you saw with the Suns and what you've seen with the Nets? The Suns are pretty much Nets West. Like they built up a very good depth team. They went to the finals in 21. They lost to Milwaukee. And all of a sudden they just traded all away to build what Kevin Durant had in Brooklyn pretty much.
I'm not going to sell it. And I'm not going to tell fans, hey, you know what? Kevin Durant wouldn't be a good addition to the New York Knicks because he would be. Okay. If you had Kevin Durant right now as your secondary offensive player, that's a pretty good team. I mean, Jalen Brunson and him, because Kevin Durant's going to give you 27 to 28 points. Jalen Brunson's going to give you about 30 to 35 points. That's automatically almost 60 points of your team's offense. And then you get Dante DiVincenzo 11 to 12 points a game. And then you got Josh Hart 14 to 15 points a game. You're talking about four players that are going to give you close to 85, 90 points. And then all that secondary offense with Miles McBride and Harnstein and all the other guys, that would be a pretty good team. And I don't trust Mitchell Robinson. I don't trust Julius Randle. I don't trust any of those players that have been hurt. So maybe adding a guy like Kevin Durant. But what do you have to give up for a Kevin Durant? I love that school bus, by the way. Thank you, Fish. As we all see Frank Vogel getting run over by a bus. But hey, it might be a Kevin Durant bus. All right. But I don't know what is going on with the Phoenix Suns. And if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you know what? Budenholzer is the answer. I don't know if he's the answer. What I do know is Kevin Durant is getting older. Devin Booker is getting restless over there in that organization because they can't win and they can't get over the hump. They played in one finals with Chris Paul, who couldn't stay healthy. Right. Okay. And you're looking at this organization with Bradley Beal, which you have him for another 4 years, and he has a no-trade clause. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, you're going to be stuck.
And no first-round draft picks.
You're going to be stuck with Bradley Beal because nobody's going to take that on for a no-trade clause. He's going to have some kind of...
Well, you have a first-round draft pick every other year because that's the way the NBA works. But
they have one this year. They don't have any for the next 5 after that because they made all these other big trades to get along with that. The Nets trade itself, and then they traded some other ones just to get some depth, like because they had nothing else besides that because the Suns built themselves like Nets West, and it's going to make them stuck. Now, obviously, Budenholzer is a good coach, but is he coach-proof enough for Kevin Durant? Probably not, and that's going to make a big decision for what the Suns team is going to be. Now, again, we've seen him rebirth other guys with the Atlanta Hawks, build up that team very nicely. They were kind of stuck in mediocrity for a while, and they were a pretty consistent contender in the middle of the 2010s. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals a couple times, but still, they were never a perennial type team. And can you trust that kind of thing? We're going to have to trust second-round picks and 10-day contracts and stuff like that for this team, plus the relationship with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Because Kevin Durant, it seems like pretty much a lost cause. 6 coaches in 6 years. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, different personalities and professionalism in that locker room is not good. No. We all know that because we all know what Bradley Beal did with Washington and pretty much ran himself out of Washington. And we know what Kevin Durant did over there in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and James Harden. And we all know Devin Booker's the guy. He's the sitting duck right now. He's the guy sitting and wondering, hey, where's this organization going? Are we winning with me or are we not winning with me? And if we're not winning with me, can you send me somewhere where I can win? Because right now, he is not going to win over there. There's no success story moving forward because they have no future. There is nothing there. They're rebuilding with a bunch of old guys that are really, to me, I don't know what they are in the future. And I don't know how they work together and how they really work moving forward as an organization. So
Snug also says that the Suns may cut him loose and negotiate a buyout.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, but it's going to be very pricey. And first of all, is how you're going to be able to spend that money going to be something that is going to keep Kevin Durant happy? Because Kevin Durant, he has his guys he wants to play with in his career. He's listed them publicly a lot of the time. It was originally Draymond Green in the beginning, and then that fell apart. Obviously, Kyrie Irving. I think Damian Lillard was another one at the time that, remember when the Knicks were rumored for Damian Lillard and Kevin Durant at the same time too? Like that kind of thing was maybe something that was talked about too. But like, are you going to be able to get that kind of player in there? Now, Damian Lillard's a free agent. Maybe it's a possibility, but still, that would probably be the only shot that's available.
I'm not going to hide anything to the fans, because if the fans are sitting here listening to us right now, you're going to have your own thoughts to where the Phoenix Suns are. And if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, you're going to say, well, we can win with Bradley Beal. We can win with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And we can win with Budenholzer if Budenholzer runs this offense and runs this defense the way we can as a team, as an organization. I just don't believe it's going to work, because you have three players that are all about themselves. They're me players. They're not a team player. So I don't know how this works out for the future of this organization. So a lot to get into with that moving forward, especially in the offseason. The Nevada Supreme Court ruled in favor of the NFL in their case against Jon Gruden. A 2-1 vote means that Gruden can't go forward with the lawsuit against the league unless there is new information. The ruling in this case will now be settled in a closed-door arbitration rather than a public court case, of course. Gruden sued Roger Goodell, former Commanders GM, Bruce Allen, and Dan Snyder for destroying his career. The NFL has argued to strike down the lawsuit, arguing that a clause in Gruden's contract with the Raiders prevents him from going after them. Gruden's attorney, Adam Hosmer, says that they will likely now pass this lawsuit to the federal Supreme Court. John and his brother Jay were the subject of the letter revealing racist and crazy language leading to him stepping away from football in 2021. Jon Gruden was screwed. Anywhere you slice it and you dice it, when you look at the situation and this whole story, he was screwed. That email, okay, which ruined his career. Nobody's going to hire Jon Gruden again. Nobody. Nobody in the right mind would hire Jon Gruden with all those racist remarks. And it wasn't just him. There was a lot of other people on that email that said some racist, derogatory things about certain players, but nobody even knows about who was on that email. There was 50 other people, GMs, players, or ex-coaches, everything that were on those emails, but nobody was thrown under the bus but Jon Gruden. And that has a lot to do with Roger Goodell and Dan Snyder, because they're trying to protect their own product and their own faces. And then again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Jon Gruden was right for what he said. Jon Gruden is a racist. But half the league is racist. You're going to tell me Bill Belichick hasn't said any racist things in the past? Come on, guys. Bill Parcells, for all the craziness that he's done on the sidelines, do you not believe that Bill Parcells said something racist sometime in his career? Of course he did. Now, obviously, Bill Parcells is how old? He's 80 years old. And Bill Parcells' career is done. He's out of the limelight. He's moving on for the final parts of his career, which is hanging out with his grandchildren, his wife, his girlfriend, or whoever he's hanging out with. Nobody cares about Bill Parcells anymore. Nobody. But right now, Jon Gruden was the talk of the league over the last 3 or 4 years because of those racist remarks. And we all know what happened in the NBA with those owners. We all know what happened. The players and the players' union ran out those two owners. Those are the facts. Phoenix has a new owner because of that. The LA Clippers have a new owner because of that. The players are running the league as well as the NFL. Now, obviously, Roger Goodell is trying to protect the owners. He's trying to bring in more money and the opportunity to bring in an 18th game. By the way, if the players are making more money, they're going to be happy with, even though they say it puts them in more harm's way when it comes to the head injuries, the knee injuries, the Achilles injuries, the foot injuries, the toe injuries, every injury. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for Jon Gruden. But all I'm going to say is he got screwed. He's getting screwed. Now, they're going to arbitrate this. He's going to make some money. I don't know how much. He'll probably get as much as what probably the Raiders were going to pay him because he signed a $100 million contract. Yeah. He'll probably get something around that money when they negotiate a deal. But it's not about money. Jon Gruden interviewed for a coaching job in college this offseason. He didn't get it. You wonder why he didn't get it. How many quarterback, camps that he's had over the years? How many times has he worked with the Mannings and the Manning family at their camp, which he's not invited to go to moving forward? Why is that? Because of the NFL, because of Dan Snyder, because of this email that just absolutely snuck by everybody else and his name just popped out of nowhere. It is a joke. It's unfair. This is a guy that's won a Super Bowl. This is a guy that's been a successful coach in the NFL. This is a guy that's been a successful analyst in the NFL with ESPN and all the things that he's done. Chucky, as we called him, personality-wise, spiritually, just everything about him sold me as a head coach, sold me as an analyst. I didn't care who was on ESPN except him. I just wanted to hear what Jon Gruden had to say.
Gruden's grinders.
That's all I cared about. I didn't give a crap what anybody thought on that broadcast. Honestly. What do they call him? Booger?
Oh, God.
I mean, come on. That's the perfect name for him. Booger.
With his stupid,
I'd sneeze better than what he is announced as an analyst.
Him riding that vehicle or whatever it was on the sideline was ridiculous.
I mean, it's garbage. And I'm not taking shots at anybody or any TV organization or what they're trying to sell as an analyst, on their broadcast. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just speaking the truth here. Jon Gruden got screwed. Roger Goodell, who doesn't want to say anything. He doesn't want to speak about this story. Why not? Yeah. Because he knows he had everything to do with it. You're going to tell me Roger Goodell hasn't been racist in his career? Come on, man. That guy's as big a redneck as anybody we've seen. I mean, seriously, He goes up there. He looked like he was on drugs at the NFL draft.
And look who he's protecting. Look who is his main accomplice in this lawsuit that is trying to protect him. Oh, a guy in Dan Snyder that's been racist, misogynist, sexist galore. That's the one on his side right now. Why? Because he has to protect a freaking owner, not going to protect anyone else. Now, again, I'm not going to judge what you've done versus what you've done in terms of success-wise as being a merit to be able to protect him. Bruce Allen was a terrible GM. Jon Gruden was a good coach. They're both should be wrong for what they did. But why is Bruce Allen not getting as much flack as what Jon Gruden is getting is another thing. And you're like you said, there's 45 other people probably involved in this. There's other executives that are going to be involved. And it seems like the direct target is him. And that's why I think he's pushed this lawsuit a lot further. 3 years later, too. This was 2021. It was the middle of a Monday Night Football game that this news first came out that the NFL was targeting this lawsuit. And 3 years later, now Jon Gruden is taking it to the Supreme Court. There is a reason for that. Like you said, he does not care about the money as much. He cares about wrongfully showing that the NFL is selective in who they treat well. Owners that are racist, they're going to treat well. Owners that do disgusting things, they're going to treat well. Dan Snyder, it took years for finally them to force him out to sell the team and Josh Harris to buy it. Finally, that should have happened 8 years ago.
Jerry Jones, okay? And everybody knows who Jerry Jones is. He's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to tell me right now in his career, he's never said anything racist?
There's photos of him from 1959.
I mean, seriously, he's as racist as they come, but nobody's taken away his team. Nobody's thrown Jerry Jones under the bus. Nobody's done anything to Jerry Jones. And that's the problem right now. That's the problem with this Jon Gruden story. I'm not saying Jon Gruden was right. He was wrong.
Right.
That story should have never leaked. That email should have never leaked. I could sit here and really boggle your mind on some of the things that I've seen over the years in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, and the MLB. And I'm not gonna be around the bush. We had Rafael Palmeiro at an event. They told me not to bring up steroids. I didn't have to. He brought it up. He brought it up.
Right.
I have to bring it up. And the reason why is he knows that it was wrong. Okay? He knows it was wrong. But everybody was doing it. That doesn't mean that it's right, but everybody was doing it. So you're going to sit here. You're going to tell me that Jon Gruden's the only racist out there? Everybody was probably racist in that email. I would love to see that email, by the way. I would love every single thing that was posted in that email, especially Roger Goodell, who I believe in some awkward and crazy ways believe that he is.
And every single source, too. There could be stuff that isn't even connected to just the NFL either. Like we were talking about it a couple of years ago with the whole Nike scandal, too. Like a lot of those guys being involved in the NCAA, the college football, like everything like that. Who knows what other like companies can be involved with this?
Sports betting has been around for years. Okay? It's been around for years. But all of a sudden, it's a big story because of what Shea Ohtani did.
Right.
And by the way, what the MLB did was a joke, okay? What they did was sweep it under the rug. Like we have spoken about this, and I'm not going to get into it. The league is trying to protect whoever they want to protect. And what has Roger Goodell done every single time is protect owners. That's what he's getting paid for, to protect the ownership. That whole, I don't know if anybody watched The Dynasty, the Patriots on, I think it was Apple, okay? I watched it. That whole documentary was to really protect the one and only, the man of the hour himself, Mr. Robert Kraft. He was the only one being protected on that. Everybody was picking on Bill Belichick. Yeah. And by the way, Bill Belichick, shame on the Patriots. And I saw them drink on that Tom Brady, what do they call it? That roast on Netflix. That's great that they drank, because I believe Robert Kraft was the reason why he didn't get that job in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely the reason why. If I was Bill Belichick, I would have smacked him silly on that stage.
Yeah.
I would have threw that drink at his face.
Yeah. He went out of his way to tell at least 10 teams that we know of that you should not hire Bill Belichick because of these reasons. He went out of his way. Why don't you figure out stuff on your own team, Robert Kraft, rather than trying to like say, oh, Atlanta, don't hire him. Oh, the Chargers, Washington, don't hire him.
He cradled his way on that stage. Yes, he did. And I'm going to say this, for Robert Kraft to do and say the things that he said about Bill Belichick after he won him 6 Super Bowls. Yes, I said it. 6 Super Bowls. Could have won 7. You want to blame him because he decided not to bring a specific cornerback on the field? Right. That, whatever, okay? He still helped you win 6 Super Bowls. And the fact that Tom Brady wanted to flee and win another Super Bowl with another team, that's not his fault. Honestly, it wasn't. They've been for years working out their differences. Why and how they couldn't work out their differences at the time that they could have makes no sense. It just makes no sense. But again, it doesn't make sense anything with Jon Gruden, this story with Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden's never going to get a job again. He's never going to get a college job. He's never going to get a high school job. Nobody's going to hire him because of the NFL, because of Roger Goodell, because of Dan Snyder.
Which should be the same case for all these owners, too, because there's a lot of owners, not just Dan Snyder, that were saying racist things about the Texans ownership, how corrupt they were, Bob McNair and that McNair family, all the stuff that they've said. We've heard DeAndre Hopkins, we've heard Andre Johnson, all these other players come out and say how toxic that was there. The Raiders with Mark Davis at certain points were like that. Miami was like that kind of thing, too, with Stephen Ross. And he's still there. He's still employed. The Browns, none of these guys have been forced to sell their teams. I think Carolina they forced to finally with Gary Richardson, but it's not like David Tepper's any better right now with everything he's doing, throwing drinks at fans and all that crap that he's doing.
Adam Schefter reports that Jared Goff signed a 4-year, $212 million contract extension with the Lions. Goff will get $170 million guaranteed, and his contract is the richest in Lions history. Goff will make $53 million per year, second most only to Joe Burrow's $55 million. The extension begins this season and also includes a team option in year 2028 when Goff will be 34 years old. Goff had 4,575 yards, 30 touchdowns, a 67.5 completion percentage, and a 97.9 passer rating last season. The Lions now have a $5.3 million cap space left after also giving Sewell and St. Brown an extension a few weeks ago. I think this is a great move because that shows trust in Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is the future. I think Jared Goff proved he's the future. I think they have a ton of good young players. They had a fantastic draft. I think Campbell is the guy to lead this team to victory. I think this team is the team to beat in the NFC. They needed to add some secondary help. They did that in the draft in the first and second round. Sensational moves that they've made. I think they were, to me, top 3, top 4 in this year's draft when it came to their draft picks. Love it. I think they have one of the best and one of the best young tight ends in football right now. Showed himself to be as sensational as he was as a second-round draft pick, where everybody said, you know what? We don't know what these tight ends are going to be. And I've said this. You don't draft a tight end in the first round. You draft them in the second round because they're more successful if you look back at all the tight ends that have been drafted. But I'm going to tell you this right now. How many quarterbacks were better than Jared Goff last year? How many of them? Honestly, maybe a handful. Maybe. I would think right now, at some point last year, I thought Jared Goff was the MVP of the league. Just like I thought Kirk Cousins was the MVP of the league before he tore his Achilles. I was so impressed with Jared Goff. And anybody that knows me on this show knows that I do not like Jared Goff. I don't. I never liked him as a first-round draft pick, as the number 1 pick from Cal. Didn't like it. I was more inclined to go with Carson Wentz. That's the truth. I loved Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz that everybody hates, apparently.
Whatever. I loved him.
Now he's on the Chiefs.
Hey, but again, he's been a journeyman, and it didn't work in India. It didn't work out in Indianapolis or the Eagles, and he's been bouncing around from one team to the other, and I understand. Maybe he's not a good team player. Maybe, obviously, players in the locker room are not big fans of his. They love Jared Goff, and maybe that's something that says a lot about his personality and his stature as a player. I'm not going to say that Jared Goff doesn't deserve this money. I don't think he's worth $53 million per year, but that's the going rate for a star quarterback, as we see with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, as we just said, Joe Burrow. The league right now, when it comes to the quarterback or even the wide receiver, they're getting overpaid. I can't wait to see what Jefferson's going to get.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be record-breaking, 38, 40 million. That's why they couldn't bring back Kirk Cousins. And that's why Kirk obviously realized he didn't belong there. He belonged in Atlanta, where obviously his wife grew up, and with a young team, with a young coach. Well, Raheem Morris, who I'm not a big fan of, from Hawthorne.
Yeah, we'll see if that works.
I don't know if that's going to work. I think they should have. I do believe they should have hired Bill Belichick. That's just me. Even though he's been a hard ass in the locker room over the years and doesn't want to speak to the press. But I think the thought is, when you look at Jared Goff, his ability to make plays, to extend plays inside and out of the pocket is sensational. And the weapons that he has with St. Brown and all the wide receivers that he's had over the last 2 years have been fun to watch. And the development of this team, the offensive line, which I think is the best in football.
Yeah, and you also look at like the chemistry aspect and the coachability aspect for a lot of these players, because the Lions are obviously one of the best teams in the league, and they're going to be in this win now mode where they're them deviating from a quarterback, because Jared Goff, they would have had to figure out what they had to do with him in the future, because he was thought of originally as a bridge quarterback. The Lions brought him in when the Lions were one of the worst teams in the league in 2021, where they traded for him. They had the 6th overall pick in that draft. They drafted Sewell, and they've really built a good foundation since then. And now they're not going to give up that kind of chemistry, that kind of knowing that type of offense, because Dan Campbell's not going to go anywhere. Obviously, they paid a lot of their core guys, and why would they give that kind of thing up? Now, you're right. $53 million is definitely a lot of money for a guy that's an older quarterback, but he's been healthy for one. There were a lot of quarterback injuries.
How much older is he? He's what, 28, 29 years old?
He's 29 years old.
He's still young.
Right. Now, again, what do you got in then on the open market? It probably might be, but again, even so, you don't want to give that kind of thing up and have to try to start fresh with a new quarterback when you're in that much of a
Would
win
you
now.
rather bring in a Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, anybody else that's available, maybe a Carson Wentz. Maybe we reach out to Carson. You know, maybe that works.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Jared Goff was the guy.
Mm-hmm. And you don't see teams switch quarterbacks that easily and be able to win a Super Bowl instantly. Yeah, I know the Rams did it in that Jared Goff trade. Matthew Stafford did it. They won a Super Bowl. Fine. You can't trust that kind of process to be able to work all the time, because if you look at the course of just Super Bowl and football history in general, like, you need to be able to build a sustainable core with one quarterback to be able to get that thing to work. You're going to have your flukes here and there, but Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs now has won 2 in a row. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, teams like that. Peyton Manning wasn't good in the playoffs, but they still were sustainable success. You can't all of a sudden say, oh, we're going to go flip for Peyton Manning for Andrew Luck and expect it to all work out. Was it similar? Yeah, but it still didn't win him anything. And that kind of thing you can't trust with the Lions. So all of a sudden, all right, we're going to let Jared Goff go and go after, say, Russell Wilson if he became available at free agency, and expect all of a sudden it's to change overnight.
Russell Wilson would not have been a good fit over there. He has not been a good fit anywhere he's gone. As we all know, Seattle had problems over there. And I'm telling you right now, we all know Denver and Pittsburgh is definitely going to have problems with him early. And by the way, Justin Fields, I don't know if anybody saw that video when he raced against Jefferson and all these other superstars. He outran every single one of them. I think there was like 7 or 8 of them, wide receivers. It wasn't Tyreek Hill, but I would love to see Justin Fields run against Tyreek Hill. I don't know if he beats him, because I think he ran a 4.4 in his 40, and maybe he's faster now. I don't know. And I know Micah Parsons outran Justin Fields. As I think that was a bet with them. But Tyreek Hill, to me, he thinks he's a cheetah. He thinks he's the fastest guy in the league. I think there are other guys that I think could actually beat him in a race. And the guy in Worthy, Xavier Worthy, I think he could absolutely outrun. I'm going to tell you this. You can bet your bottom dollar that you will not see Tyreek Hill actually want to race Xavier Worthy. You will not see that, because I'm going to tell you this right now. Xavier Worthy beats him. He absolutely beats him in a race. One-on-one, Xavier Worthy, I mean, the guy's a beast. He's unbelievable. And I told Anthony Andriosi when he was picking his draft, and he was like the third pick this coming draft for rookies and guys that were just drafted. I told him, at number 3, you draft Xavier Worthy. I don't care who it is, Odunze, Neighbors, or any of those guys, Harrison Jr., I would absolutely draft Worthy, because he is a must hit. He is a definite hit, and he is going to get over 1,000 yards this year. As we all know, with the Rice situation, he is not going to play for a significant amount of games because of what he's done on and off the field. Well, off the field, not on the field. He just doesn't, I don't know what he does off the field.
Apparently likes to attack photographers for whatever reason.
Photographers, right? How about driving a car? Yeah. I mean, the guy's out of his mind. But again, I'm out of my mind, as everybody knows. So
hopefully you're not going to
think I'm a racist. Yeah, as all the Deion Sanders fans, because of that whole take with Deion Sanders, I'm a racist. Which I think is ridiculous.
Talk about somebody that is selective in itself. 60 players are going to go off the roster all in 1 year, and now everyone's going to get annoyed at him. Yeah, well, yeah, I can see why.
It's a joke. Honestly, it's an absolute joke. I'm not going to sit here and tell you anything, and I've never said anything racist on this show. As a matter of fact, I've been all for every single thing that's happened in the leagues in many different ways, from Black Lives Matter and everything. So you're going to sit here and tell me that I'm a racist, then you don't listen to the show enough.
Or if you're driving a car 119 miles an hour, hit somebody, and then ran away.
And here's another thing with the Jared Goff signing, which I love about it. Here's the thing. In 2 years, those contracts, the $53 million a year, it's going to be $70 million. It's going to be $73 million that these quarterbacks are going to be making. So you just got a bargain for a guy that actually stays healthy for the majority of the season, and a guy that you're getting him on the cheap. I wish I made $53 million a year. I really do.
Caleb
Williams. I wish I made, 50, not 50,000. I wish I was making 500,000 a year. That would be enough for me.
Caleb Williams will get $75 million per year and then want ownership of the team again. And they'll try to pass that rule in the next CBA.
My hands are too small to be a quarterback. I mean, I have miniature.
Oh God, we're not having discussions about hand size right now.
My hands are small. I mean, they're good for other things.
Everything the draft analysts hate the most. Random mock drafts that fans make that people have no idea what they're talking about, and talking about hand size.
Well, hand size are good for many different things besides throwing footballs.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's learning that the hard way.
Fish knows all about that, right?
Fish, I'm sure you don't like to have discussions about hand size when it comes to your players either.
Anyways, why don't we go to a quick break? We have the Sports Minute. When we come back, the New York Jets looking to move on from Nathaniel Hackett as Connor Hughes comes out with his story, which is just mind-boggling. And Doug Gottlieb. Oh, I'm sorry. That popped up. It wasn't Doug Gottlieb, but the Giants on Hard Knocks. A lot of questions with that as well here on the Sports Loudmouth. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right. I am the man of the hour, Tommy Scoops, to bring you guys, as we all know what this is called, the Loudmouth Sports Minute Report. And to get into today's bit of news, starting off in the NFL, as everybody knows, the NFL schedules are set to be released within the next hour for all 32 teams, showing every opponent's dates and times. So make sure that you check your team's 2024 matchups. Other NFL news, the Steelers veteran tackle Cameron Hayward is actually holding out with contract extensions. Hayward has not attended a Steelers OTAs this offseason and has never missed an offseason program since joining the Steelers since 2011. Over in the NBA, the Kings are saying that head coach Mike Brown could get an extension worth 8 figures. Coach Brown, who led the Kings to its first postseason appearance since 2006, looks to stay with Sacramento long term. And finally, lastly, over in the MLB, the league actually announced that they will be suspending Astros pitcher Ronel Blanco. Blanco was ejected yesterday after Oakland A's umpire spotted him with a foreign substance on his glove, handing him a 10-game suspension. Now it's going to be time for Scoops and Scores, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the games and scores going on right now, currently in the NBA. Right now, Boston has a 51-48 lead over Cleveland late in the second quarter. And in the MLB right now, the Mets currently have a 2-1 lead over Philly. Tampa Bay and Boston are currently squaring up right now at the top of the fourth inning, with Boston having a 1-0 lead. Chicago currently has a 3-0 lead over Atlanta. And over in the NHL, within the next hour, Colorado and Dallas are expected to start Game 5 of the Western second round. That is currently right now all the time I have for you guys. Of course, I'm going to be later back in the show for an update. I'm going to send it back to the boys for their next segment on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631 672 3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings of all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. By the way, my car, I was at the mechanic yesterday. I was hanging out with Eric, and I thought fixing the hoses and fixing all the technical issues that I've had with my car, all of a sudden he tells me my radiator is done. I had to order a radiator, and now I'm waiting for the radiator to come. I'm going to tell you this right now. I repeat, do not drive a car. If you live in the city, go get yourself an Uber, go get yourself a train ticket. Do not drive a car. It's getting too expensive, Speedy. I am wasting money every single week. It's $500 here, $400 there, $300 here, $250 there. It doesn't work. So for all the fans out there that have a car, make sure you're leasing one. Do not have a car that you own, because for some reason, I just have bad luck with cars.
And make sure Rasheed
He's the metal on wheels.
And make sure Rasheed Rice doesn't drive it.
That's true, too. Stay away from Rasheed. Do not let Rasheed.
And Jeff's boy, Jalen Carter.
Oh, that's another person. That's a personal issue with, obviously Jalen Carter. But I mean, I like Jalen. I like him as a person. I just don't like him in a car. He likes to race him. Oh, man, it's been crazy. And with the New York Jets, it's been even crazier. SNY's Connor Hughes reports that the Jets tried to replace Nathaniel Hackett in this offseason. Pro Football Network reports that the Jets has stopped Hackett from having full play calling control. Reports said that the Jets wanted a more modern and innovative offensive approach, having been disappointed with Hackett's performance. Other reports mentioned that Aaron Rodgers wasn't happy at certain parts of Nathaniel Hackett's offense when other quarterbacks had to play for him because of his injury. Robert Saleh also mentioned he would like a more collaborative offensive coaching staff to call plays under Aaron Rodgers. Without Rodgers, the Jets offense was 31st in yards per game and 29th in points per game. Let's be honest right now. The Jets offense was absolutely disastrous. It was horrible. Everything with the Jets offense last year spoke highly of Nathaniel Hackett's play calling. It did. Anything that you slice and you dice with the New York Jets and their offense, and I know Zach Wilson is horrible, and thank God he's gone. The Jets decided to trade him for what? A 5th round or 6th round draft pick. By all means, take him. He's going to be playing and trying to work with Bo Nix, who I think could be a good quarterback in this league. I have my own thoughts to that, but I'm not going to speak about it because we're not talking about right now the Denver Broncos. But I will get into my thoughts on Nathaniel Hackett. I do believe Nathaniel Hackett has a very short leash this year. Very short. And if the New York Jets do not start off fast offensively, he will be gone. And I don't care because Aaron Rodgers is the offensive coordinator. He will be calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know what is going on in that locker room when it comes to Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers, or any of the quarterbacks. We all know Aaron Rodgers is the guy. He is going to be the guy making all the calls defensively and offensively because it's definitely not going to be Robert Saleh. But I will say this. Nathaniel Hackett is not the only reason why this Jets offense did not survive throughout the season. And it's not really the running game because the running game at some points looked really, really good. They didn't have a secondary wide receiver. Garrett Wilson was the only wide receiver they had, and Alan Lazard is a complete bust. I've said it. And the fact that the Jets are not only letting a guy like Nathaniel Hackett make the play calls, which I think is ridiculous. You have a collaborated offensive coaching staff making the play calls. It's ridiculous. It's not going to work. It never works that way. Are you going to see an NHL coach have his coaches make the play calls on the ice? That's not going to happen. When they call a timeout, you have the defensive guy and the offensive guy sitting there, but the coach is going to be responsive on all the play calls on the ice. In baseball, the manager is not going to go to his guys on the bench. He's going to have guys that are going to have their thoughts to it, but he's going to make the final call. If Robert Saleh can't make the final call, he's not the right guy for the job. He's not. Nathaniel Hackett, I love him in his own little way because I like his personality. I don't like him as a coach, but when he's out there speaking to the press, I think he's funny. I think it's hilarious. And Connor Hughes, I love his writing. Shout out to Connor Hughes. I'd love to get him on the show. I would. And we might very soon get Connor Hughes on the show. I love what he writes, but he is there to cause problems. He is a guy that's writing to get all the scoop in that locker room that's going to cause trouble when he's putting his pen to that paper. That's what he does. That's his job. I don't care what anybody says. That's what they do. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The New York Jets, this year, starting the season against San Francisco, boy, oh boy, the way the NFL wants to, plan the first game of the season, and honestly, I'm worried because you have one of the best defenses in the league going after Aaron Rodgers, a guy that obviously grew up a San Francisco 49ers fan. I am not excited to see a guy like Nick Bosa coming after Aaron Rodgers early in the season. I thought it would be better mid-season to see the 49ers. It's not a good sign. But Nathaniel Hackett has a lot to prove this year. This team, offensively, has a lot to prove this year. Everybody thought, hey, you know what? Let's bring in that big-time tight end from Georgia. Let's go after him. Let's bring him in.
Jeff's boy.
Let's bring him in. But the Jets did right to Aaron Rodgers, bring in an Olu. They did. Because we don't know what Smith is going to be this year as a health travesty over the last couple of years with the Cowboys. It's been a travesty. And even Morgan Moses, who's been fairly healthy, not last year, but his career, and even when he was there with the Jets, he played 15 games. The fact is, we don't know. He's an older player. How this offensive line is going to stay healthy. Elijah Vera Tucker can't. Every time he plays in Denver, he gets hurt. Season-ending injury. He went from his pec to his Achilles. That's not Nathaniel Hackett's fault. What is Nathaniel Hackett's fault is the play calling and how lousy it's been in the past 6 or 7 games at the end of the season. It wasn't good. The play calling was horrible. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Sitting back and kind of figuring out where the Jets are as an organization at the end of the season, if this team does not get over the hump, I'm going to tell you this right now. Robert Saleh is going to be looking for a new job. Joe Douglas is going to be looking for a new job. Nathaniel Hackett's going to be looking for a new job. And Aaron Rodgers is going to jump on his new and improved yacht and head out there to, Guam and hang out and get high with all the other people.
Live from Guam, it's the Pat McAfee Show with Aaron Rodgers as a full-time co-host.
I mean, seriously, it's an absolute, joke. And this team has been the center of attention. And the fact that the Giants are the next team to be a mockery of Hard Knocks, if you're a Giant fan, you shouldn't be, or you can't be happy about that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and the Jets continue to have trouble avoiding unnecessary drama. Like, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to come with all this extra baggage, is going to come with all this extra publicity that's going to happen. We knew that coming in when the Jets traded for him, but the Jets at that point with a good win now team could not take that kind of chance of passing up a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers in the trade market when clearly the Packers are not going to get the value that they wanted out of him because Aaron Rodgers has been forcing his way out for 3 years. So the Jets knew that that kind of thing had to happen. And while Nathaniel Hackett, I don't know, again, he's a great offensive coordinator. Like, maybe that was part of the deal in order to get Aaron Rodgers over there. So why are you all of a sudden saying, oh, we're going to go find his replacement this offseason, not tell Aaron Rodgers, keep it in-house? Then all of a sudden this leaks out after the draft that, oh, we were looking for his replacement the whole time. Like, what kind of tension is that going to cause with Aaron Rodgers? What kind of tension is that going to cause with these players that they brought in connection to what they built now? And that kind of thing just does not need to come out. There's no necessary need for that. Like, what good offensive coordinator were you going to get? Were you going to poach a coach that was going to be fired? Were you going to look to trade for a guy and give up a first-round pick like the Broncos did with Sean Payton? Like, what was your plan exactly? Like, there's nothing that was going to be catering to that to get Aaron Rodgers there. And that's where Woody Johnson has to look himself in the mirror and say, why are we continuing to have unnecessary drama with this Jets team, no matter how good of a roster that you have and how good of a quarterback you might have if Rodgers can stay healthy?
It will always be drama as long as Aaron Rodgers is out there.
Of course.
There's going to be drama no matter what. No matter what. The fact that he's wearing number 8. I mean, seriously, he's wearing number 8 because he wanted to step away from the Green Bay Packers and his background of his career with the Green Bay Packers. He wants to start a new career with the New York Jets. Has it worked? Well, 4 plays long it did. After that, it didn't work. And right now, the Jets are sitting, I don't know, everybody thinks they're sitting pretty. On paper, the Jets are one of the more talented teams right now in the NFL. But is that going to sell me to what they're going to be this year? No. As a matter of fact, I'm worried. I'm worried this year that everybody and all the Jet fans out there, and you heard it from me, for all those guys that are Jets guys on YouTube and all the Spotify and podcasts out there that are listening to me now, and if you're not, good for you. If you are, hear me out on this. The Jets, to me, are an organization and a team that always have high expectations all the time. Every year, high expectations because of the players, because of the talent, because of the coaching staff, because of the GM and what he did in the draft. And every year, I have an understanding of what this organization, this team is. And you know what that is? A bunch of losers. It's a losing organization. I'm just speaking the truth. Nobody's going to want to hear it. And most of those Jet guys just want to hear happiness and flowers and rainbows in the air. Oh, the Jets are going to be great this year. Let me kiss it. Let me love it. Let me caress it. I have nothing to caress with this team. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to caress Alan Lazard in the huddle, okay? Because the guy's been an absolute bust for $11 million a year.
They tried to put a rainbow at MetLife Stadium, but Zach Wilson threw it 10 feet too high.
By the way, Kenny Smith, I love that suit. What kind of suit? What color is that?
Oh God, he's got his own vehicle.
That's a salmon. No, that's definitely like an orange suit. I like that. That's an orange suit. He's an orange bow tie. So I like that. Tie. I'm sorry, not bow tie. Tie.
Yeah, he's got his own machine like our friend Booger had too.
Oh please!
Anything's better than the Booger Mobile though.
Well, you know what? I like flicking boogers. You like flicking boogers?
I don't know.
You like eating boogers, right?
I don't know. Ask Booger McFarland.
Well, I'm just asking. Do you like boogers? Do you eat your boogers?
I've done it before, but not on air.
Really? I mean, I would be fun. I think we should do that.
Of course you do.
All right. So if you have a nice, wet, juicy booger.
I'm not doing it on air.
I think it'd be great. All the fans out there, who would want to see a guy like Speedy Petey eat his boogers? I would. Raise your hand. I mean, how about you? Scoops, would you like to see it?
Scoops.
All right, Scoop.
I-
How about you, Fish? Let's get Fish in here. Let's ask Fish. I mean, seriously, who would like to see the great Speedy Petey eat his boogers? How about you, Fish? Would you like to see it?
I mean, not particularly, but I heard there's a lot of vitamins and minerals.
Oh God!
So-
Now you're going to go back to that because he does that with another type of milk. So and that shall not be named.
What, breast milk?
I said that shall not be named.
Well, I like it. I mean, have you ever tasted breast milk like as
No.
a an older
No.
kid? I mean,
No.
to me, you're a kid, as you know. I mean, but you've never tasted breast milk?
No.
The vitamins.
I
in it.
don't care.
I mean, your skin. I mean, you can really if you want, you get a bunch of that and you pour it in a bath.
Why don't
and
you go?
just soak
Why
yourself
don't you go
in breast milk?
Why don't you go encourage Zach Wilson? I'm sure he'll love doing that now.
I think
in
he's done it
Denver.
already.
Now he's in Denver. He's got a whole new crop.
He's right. I mean, he's from Utah, so he likes that.
Oh yeah, so he's got previous experience.
Listen. I've tasted breast milk. It's actually really, really good. It's juicy and it has that tangy taste. Speedy. I put it in my cereal.
I'm sure you would.
I would. It's good. I don't like whole milk. I'm not a whole milk fan, but I like breast milk. It's good. It's tasty. Have you ever tried breast milk?
No, that's not something I've tried. We know Josh Hart of the Knicks has dabbled with this a little bit or talked about it.
We got to reach out to Josh.
Maybe he just stuffs them in Jimmy Butler's mouth, so he shuts up about him.
That's pretty
I
good.
wouldn't put it past Jimmy Butler. Remember how he showed up the first day of the season this year with this crazy hairstyle.
Oh yeah.
Well, I love Jimmy's hairstyle. As a matter of fact, it sells me. It sells me right to the bottom of my pits, Speedy. How about your pits? Are they sweaty?
I don't know.
Are they sweaty? My pits are sweaty.
I'm not going to touch.
I'm in the studio with two guys.
I'm not going to touch them to test it out for you.
I don't want you to touch my pits.
Not yours.
Oh, all right. Then who do you want to touch?
I said I'm not going to touch my own pits just to see if they're sweaty or not.
All right. Well, then they're not
Nobody
sweaty.
can smell them that's listening to the show. So,
well, you could smell them.
Am I listening to the show or am I on the show?
Well, you also smell, and you do use your fifth sense, right? You smell.
Sure.
You got to smell it.
Okay.
Whoever smelt it dealt it.
Thank you.
Whoever denied it applied it. Remember that?
No, but it rhymes. So
I mean, you like the smell of some people's farts. You've said it.
I didn't say that.
You didn't like that? You don't
No,
like other
I
people?
said I tolerated it. I'm not going to encourage them. Oh, fart because I like the smell of it.
I mean, sometimes they smell like
Sometimes I'm just like, okay,
pineapple,
whatever.
You know, I like the smell of pineapple.
I'm not going to encourage it.
Oh, I do.
Of course you
encourage
do.
it. I like to encourage everything.
I know. That's the problem.
What are your thoughts to the Hackett situation? That's my problem.
I mean, wasn't this guy fired from the Broncos as head coach the year before? And then Sean Payton shows up day one, is like, this was the worst coaching job in the history of the NFL. And then the Jets were like, you know what? This is the guy. This is the guy we need to have to lead us. He's friends with Aaron Rodgers. He'll come to us. The worst coach in the NFL's history from last season. He was terrible. What were you expecting? When Rodgers went down, it was over immediately because that was your guy. He was only going to work with Rodgers, and we know Rodgers was like going to be a pitcher who's shaking off his catcher all the time with Hackett. But at least he wouldn't have annoyed Rodgers, so they would have gotten a tip with the offensive coordinator because Rodgers knows everything, as we know. So it would have been great as a little pawn for Rodgers to have, and that's what he's hoping he'll be this year, so he can really call the game. Without Rodgers there, you don't want Hackett anywhere near a franchise, it appears.
He was the same guy in 2022 that they had to hire a clock management specialist of how bad he was in that year. And we were discussing it at the time when Sean Payton made those comments. I went through it, like looking at the single seasons that I remember. Urban Meyer was easily the worst the one year he was in Jacksonville. Then it was Freddie Kitchens, then it was him.
How long was that role intact with the NFL? Didn't last long, as we all know what happened to the Saints that year.
Yeah,
they got screwed, and the Rams moved on to the Super Bowl, and we watched one of the worst Super Bowls we could ever watch. With the
because the NFL just has to make their LA thing work. Yeah,
well, it worked.
With their,
eventually they won.
No, the Rams
Without
are
Jared Goff.
The Rams are a well-built team. I'm talking about the fact that they can't
They're
get any fans in their
Speedy.
stadium.
They're a machine.
They're a great, really built team. They can't get any fans in their stadium. They had to literally have Fish. I don't know if you know this. In 2017, when the Rams had to play the Eagles in Week 14, they literally had to hire actors to play fans because they couldn't get a sellout crowd there. It was that bad. And the Rams were like the second seed in the NFC. The Eagles were the one, and they couldn't get a sellout crowd.
You know, and I hear that's not even close to as bad as it is for the Chargers.
Oh yeah.
You know, nobody's going to those games whatsoever. They alienated their actual fan base. At least the Rams used to be in LA back in the day. But, you know, LA's all struggling actors anyway. So it probably wasn't very hard for them to find a bunch of really broke actors pretending to like sports.
Such a nice guy, isn't he?
Just say it's probably what it was.
I'll tell you an actor that's not broke, The Rock. He's making every money where he goes. I mean, seriously, he's working with the WWE now. He's working with this. He's working with that. Hey, you know what? Why don't we just give Rock everything? Hey, you know what? He's the new owner of the WWE. It's not going to be who bought the WWE. I forget. I don't know. TKO.
TKO. It's a UFC fronted, conglomerate organization that
they should hire me. I should be the new president of the WWE. Could you imagine me as the president of the WWE? I mean, move out of the way, Triple H. Move out of the way, Rock. I can run this organization better than you guys. We're going to bring back Hulk Hogan. That's what we're going to do.
You,
Josh.
Whether you're running it or not, you would be
Savage back. Oh, I forgot. He's dead.
You would be the best heel manager like ever if you were there, like Bobby the Brain Heenan stuff, Jimmy Hart. We'll get you a bullhorn. You'll just hate on everybody and support the bad guys because why the heck not?
I'm a good bad guy. I'm a good bad guy. Nobody likes the bad guy.
Everyone would encourage a match, a celebrity match between Draymond Green and Cam Newton, just so they could get their heads whacked.
That's a good idea. Oh my
That's
God.
not bad.
Jimmy Hart used to carry around a tennis racket. I mean, seriously, I'll carry around a plunger.
Yeah, perfect for Draymond Green's toilet talk.
You could put people in headlocks like Draymond Green.
There we go.
Everything is perfect.
What?
You'll have one really good move every 5 years, just like Draymond Green, and you'll be great.
Yeah,
be wonderful.
Maybe I should run for congressman. I think that would be good. Me speaking to, everybody else speaks and says crap that comes out of their mouth. Why not me be the congressman? I could just take all the different parts from all our different presidents. 7 years ago. 7 minutes ago. Or 7 hours ago. Or 7 underwears ago.
4 scores. That sounds like Draymond Green's points per game total. 7 years ago, when Draymond Green was a relevant basketball player.
Oh man. What's up with you and Draymond Green? Do you have so much hatred for this guy?
No, it's just funny to bring it up in that context.
No, he does.
I'm sure you would love to see him get slammed down by another wrestler.
Well, the fact that you like to see somebody being slammed down speaks highly of who you are, Speedy.
No, I'm encouraged.
I like that even more. What was that? What's wrong with you? I don't know. We're going to have to replug that because it's only coming out of one ear. I don't know what's going on here, Speedy. Where's the technology here on the show? Seriously, I blame you, Speedy.
How thick do you like the beef?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Again, nothing to do with thickness. Everything to do with flavor. That question will always be answered the same way.
Well, what's wrong with the flavor?
It sometimes could be bland. It sometimes could be dry. We don't know.
Well, do you like it dry? Or
No.
Why don't you like it dry?
Why would anyone eat food dry?
A lot of people like dry stuff. They like dry wine, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. Does your mom like dry wine?
Yeah.
I'm going to buy her some dry wine.
Okay.
We'll hang out. And
you go do that.
I'm going to do that. We're going to do it together because we're a team. You understand that?
No.
We're a team.
I wanted to buy my
Teamwork
mom. I wanted to
for
buy
all
my
of us.
mom wine. You would not be involved in the operation.
Well, hey, listen, it'll be like Ted 2. Remember what they did? They tried to get Tom Brady's sperm. I'll just try to sneak in.
You're not going there.
I'll sneak into her window. Your father doesn't stay in that same room, right?
Doesn't give you a right to break it into her house.
I want to bring her the wine personally from me.
So it's called shipping. Send it.
I don't want to ship it. I want to give it to her. I want to hand it to her personally.
So get a custom gift wrap. It's the 21st century. Figure it out. I'm sure there's plenty of wineries that have that kind of option out there.
But I want to do it personally. I want to hand
That
it
is
to you.
personal. It's custom. What, you need your DNA on it to prove it?
Exactly. DNA works for me. I mean, it works for everybody.
Yes, everybody has DNA. Good job. Again, something that a third grader would know.
So what are you telling me? I have third grading, thoughts?
Apparently.
Well, thank you, Speedy.
Everybody has
That's
DNA.
a compliment. I mean, seriously.
Everybody's got DNA. Yeah, good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Speedy. But I want my DNA on it. That's very important to me.
Apparently. I don't really know why that makes a difference. But okay.
Do you want me to send something else with that?
If you want. But again, you could just custom send it. It's
How
the
about
21st century.
What would you like me to send with it?
Send her. Well, we tried sending pizza. That's not going to work.
Use condom?
Oh, God.
I'm just asking.
No, you're not sending my mom a condom. Yes, Carl, well done. Put a cork in it, Speedy. Yes. Good job, Carl. Happy to the night.
That was good.
Oh,
Good job, Carl.
It's to me, it means so much to me to know that what I do for her would be great for you. I mean, because it means a lot to me to make you happy, Speedy. I mean, put a smile on your face. Did you enjoy yourself this weekend for my birthday?
I did. It was.
Did you dance your way?
I did.
By the way, you actually danced to the beat. It was amazing. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen you do, is actually in rhythm to the beat. I was like, wow.
Good. Now you can follow your resume to Dancing with the Stars and go judge over there now.
You know what? I should actually reach out to Dancing with the Stars and have them look at your dancing skills, because I think you could be one of the teachers on that show. You could be one of the corporated choreographers.
I definitely couldn't do that.
I think you could do it. I mean,
Of course you think that.
those Rockette kicks, I mean, those things are deadly, but unbelievable. I mean, I love it. I mean,
I couldn't do it there. There was no room.
Well, that's the best part. You kick people in the balls. That's even better. I mean,
what about Draymond Green again? Everything comes back to Draymond Green.
I mean,
he loves kicking people in the balls.
That would be interesting to watch. That's for sure.
All right, then you go do it if you care so much.
Well, if you want me to, I will.
I don't care about you doing it.
It's a team,
No,
situation.
it's not.
We work as a team. We die
You don't
as a team.
need any extra
I
influence.
am a team-oriented guy, as we all know. We work together. By the way, it's pouring outside. I hear it in the studio. It is pouring. It is raining. All right. The Giants will be featured in the offseason version of this year's Hard Knocks. This is the first time ever the Giants will be featured on Hard Knocks. John Mara mentioned in 2010 that he would never want the Giants to be exposed to extra cameras. However, he changed his mind because the show will focus more on the offseason storylines more than the actual training camp process. The Giants' offseason has been filled with drama, losing Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney, trading for Brian Burns, and concerns with Daniel Jones and Brian Dable. Well, for all you Giant fans, you get to deal with all the craziness of the offseason like the Jets did last year, but you don't have Aaron Rodgers. You have Daniel Jones. Yippee! Well, I don't know if you're going to be happy about that, because all the craziness that's happened this offseason has been everything and all about Daniel Jones. Paying him $40 million, even though he's underpaid as a quarterback and the starting quarterback right now in this league. Or maybe Brian Dable with his craziness because, hey, you know what? Brian Dable didn't get along with anybody on his coaching staff. As we all know, his defensive coordinator decided to flee and go and be a defensive coordinator for a college team. I mean, what kind of crap is that? As, Mr. Morning Wink, as I called him, decided to wink his way out of New York. Speedy, you got one eye, right?
Do I have one eye?
Have you ever used your one eye?
I used one eye?
Have you ever used your one eye?
I don't know what
your
that
one eye
means.
dumpling. You've never had a one-eye dumpling? Have you used it? Have you ever used it?
I have no idea what that means. What is that, some Chinese pirate? Now, imagine one-eyed dumpling. Carl also says the only way Speedy's a good dancer is if he AI or deep faked.
The one-eyed dumpling. Oh man, that's good, Speedy. You like the dumplings, right? You like
I have no idea.
Willy Whoppers, Speedy. Willy Whoppers. Yes. Do you like dumplings?
I do, but what does that have to do with this?
What kind of dumplings? You like pork? You like what do you like?
Yeah, pretty much it. Pork. Yeah.
How about pork rinds? You like that?
I think that's different. Isn't that different?
Well, it is different, but do you like it?
I don't know if I've had it. Is that the shredded one? I know pulled pork is the Jamaican one.
Yeah, well, you like Jamaican.
Yes, I do.
The one dumplings.
Are you going for Jamaican pirate legends?
Well, it is a legend. I don't know if it's a legend that you've used yet, but it's a legend that I've used numerous amount of times.
Carl, to answer your other question, I don't know what that means. So,
well, there you go. Anyways, getting back to the New York Giants, the Giants right now sitting. I know Giant fans are sitting and wondering what they did this offseason that really stands out. I actually loved their number one pick. I love Neighbors. I really do love him. And Brian Burns, I think they overpaid for him. I do. I think they overpaid for him, but he was one of the top 5 linebackers in the league. We'll see how it helps this defense. I think the defense has a beast of a man in the middle, but everybody else on that defense, there's a lot of questions to it. Brian Burns brings leadership. He brings, a veteran type of player to the organization that obviously hasn't had a linebacker that good in a very, very long time. And let's be honest, I think the last time they had a linebacker that good, I would say the last guy was Antonio Pierce. I mean, Antonio Pierce is nowhere the talent Brian Burns is on paper. But there's a lot of questions to this team. John Mara, does he actually know what he's doing? That's the question. I don't know. John Mara, as an owner, has been a joke over the last, I would say, 5 years. The coaches that he's been, actually 10 years, the coaches that he's been hiring, obviously walking away from Tom Coughlin, parting ways with him, bringing in Ben McAdoo. And then obviously in the offseason when Tom Coughlin came out and took shots at the organization, why didn't you give me defensive players? Where was the defensive signings in the offseason? And then as they decided to part ways with Tom Coughlin, then they start bringing in defensive linemen, linebackers, and defensive backs. It made no sense. And Ben McAdoo was good for 1 year and crappy the next, as he decided to start Geno Smith over the great Eli Manning, which a lot of people thought was out of line. Okay,
Geno Smith, one of the few players that Jets and Giants fans can both hate.
That's true. I mean, that's true. But hey, you know what? He's doing well over there in Seattle. Hopefully, or maybe it's usually it takes 1 year to really get sick of Geno Smith. Last year wasn't good. It looks like they'll part ways with him after this year. So, not a very good sign for Geno Smith as he's making his money. He made $8 million or $7 million as a backup under Russell Wilson. I think he was the highest paid backup in the NFL.
Yeah, now I got paid $25 million a year. So.
Oh, good for him, Speedy. And tell him to share some money with me. I could use some of that money. How about you, Speedy? Could you use that kind
I
of
don't
money?
know if I have that kind of negotiating skills with Geno Smith.
Well, all you got to do is send him your one-eyed dumpling.
I don't have a one-eyed dumpling.
Every guy has a one-eyed dumpling.
I don't know. It sounds like some freaky horror movie.
It is a freaky horror movie, especially yours. Who
I don't have a horror movie.
Well, you do, especially when they see it. Anyways, John Mara honestly has been an owner and really a part of an organization of success over the last 30, 40 years, winning 4 Super Bowls. In a time that the Giants there was a lot of questions with the organization, drafting Eli Manning, obviously pushing his way to the New York Giants organization, and Tom Coughlin changing his way that he coached because of Michael Strahan and obviously Tiki Barber, who decided to flee and retire. And now he's, a host of a drive home show that is just absolutely unbearable to listen to. But to me, I just think that the Giants organization made a couple of mistakes this offseason. Saquon Barkley was a mistake. It was a mistake. Xavier McKinney, give or take, I love the safety. I like the safety that they added in the second round. I think he's kind of the same player Xavier McKinney is. I just think they were reaching in the second round as early as they did for him. I think they could have gotten him in the third round. Mm-hmm. But, the Giants did what they had to do. And obviously, Joe Shane, this is a make or break year for Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. And Brian Daboll, I would love to see him outside of being in front of the press or outside being away from the team. I'd love to see him with his family. because there's a lot of questions. A lot of people have attacked Brian Daboll. That's the truth. Brian Daboll, as good as he was in his first year, winning Coach of the Year, and he was good. He really was. I am not going to take shots at Brian Daboll. I thought he was really, really good his first year, coaching a team that had no talent whatsoever, but their schedule was crap. And then last year, their schedule was a little bit better, and they just couldn't get over the hump. And who did he needed to blame? Practically every mistake that this defense made was Martindale, who is winking his way over there to college football, is probably saying, well, now that I'm gone, let's see how this defense plays under you, big mouth. Because to me, I'm worried. If you're a Giant fan, you should be worried. You don't know who your defensive coordinator is. Let's be honest. It's not Wink Martindale. And you don't know how this offense is going to be run this year, because you've been hearing from, the organization that they don't want Daniel Jones there, that they were willing and ready to move up and try to get one of those quarterbacks, maybe Daniels, maybe May, who, by the way, doesn't look good. Has some people, I've been reading stories from Bleacher Report that there were stories coming out that May has not looked really, really good. I mean, he's been throwing the ball and practicing with some of the rookies. He hasn't looked good. So interesting, because North Carolina quarterbacks have not been very good in the NFL.
Say, Robert Kraft, this is why you invest more time into your own team's offensive coordinator and coaching search rather than stopping teams from hiring Bill Belichick.
Well, I you know what? I wouldn't have kept Bill Belichick this coming year. I think you need to look elsewhere. I don't go within the team. I think I look elsewhere, but I understand he likes to hire guys within the team. Bill Belichick was a part of Bill Parcells' Patriot team before he decided to, Bill Belichick decided to flee and go to the Jets for a couple of years. And then he was offered the Jets job and decided within 24 hours to go to the Patriots. I mean, he was a part of that organization. He knew Bill Belichick. So obviously bringing in a coach that he knows, a player that he knows, and Mayo's a good guy. I've heard a lot of stories about him. I think Mayo could be a good coach. But most of these Bill Belichick's disciples and guys that have come from that organization have not been successful in the NFL. I can name a bunch of guys that weren't successful. And one of them, McDaniels, who has been on multiple teams, has absolutely failed. But Joe Shane has a lot to prove this year. This draft was really his draft that is either going to move him in the right direction or completely slam the door on what he is as a GM. He was a VP. He was I guess he was the vice president GM, or what is he?
Assistant
GM in Buffalo. And everybody was giving him credit on the whole Josh Allen thing. I don't know about that. I would probably give Brian Daboll more credit for his growth as a quarterback. That would be my opinion. But Brian Daboll, let's be honest. If he's not getting along with the players, he's not getting along with the coaching staff, there's a problem there. And it's going to show at Hard Knocks, or will it? Will the Giants allow that to happen if he comes out and says the derogatory, crazy things that he has said on and off, off the cameras? I don't know. I do know that Brian Daboll is crazy. I do know that Brian Daboll speaks his feelings. He doesn't hide behind management, as we all know Robert Saleh loves to do. This has been the Jets' problem. I mean, say whatever you want about Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan was a clown, but every time he spoke, you knew it was coming from the heart. When Robert Saleh comes out with something, you don't know if it's written or he actually means.
Oh, it's written. It's on his receipts.
Taking receipts. By the way, where are those receipts? I haven't.
Burning in the fireplace.
Something. I don't know. I mean, Fish, I know you want to say something. I'm sure you have your own thoughts to this whole Hard Knocks Giants thing, but I'm laughing to the bank because I think this is nothing but a failure for the New York Giants. Because if I was ownership and I was John Mara or Tisch, I would be like, I'm not doing it. I don't want it. I don't care if the NFL forces me to do it. I'm not doing it. So just my opinion.
So I'm just like the forever optimist. I keep going back to that first, not even the playoffs, the week 1 game against the Titans, that first year of the Daboll and Shane era, and they defeated them last second. The amount of energy, like how he went to the crowd, fist pump, Daboll was so pumped up. I was endeared to him immediately. And then the success with that trash team that year, that we obviously saw wasn't that good the following year. The defensive coordinator in that first game was Shane Bowen, who is now the Giants' defensive coordinator. He comes from the Vrabel tree, and Vrabel has both Belichick but also Andy Reid as a mentor. So I'm pretty hopeful about Bowen. I've heard some good things about him. When he was hired, a bunch of ex-players said that he was a great one. He's a younger guy. Probably not going to have an outsized personality like Wink because he's older than Dable. Sometimes those dynamics really don't work on coaching staffs, and that clearly did happen. I think the best thing that we're going to see is the Wink drama on this Hard Knocks. If it's doing everything from January forwards, we're going to get all of that. And that possibly could have been, what brought this team down a little bit. I know that the defense was better than the offense. The offense couldn't be much worse unless Nathaniel Hackett was calling it. But, it's going to be really fascinating to see. And this could actually be a great thing for the Giants if Shane and Dable coming off smelling like roses from it and people want to go there, as opposed to the what was put out in the media that Dable's a crazy person. Shane was cold to Barkley. We'll see. I'm hopeful, but you're right. Every Hard Knocks we've ever seen has gone south in the worst way for those teams. Remember the Hugh Jackson one?
Oh yeah, I love that one.
That
in the beginning, did you remember the beginning when they were jumping in the water? What was it? The plunge, the polar plunge?
Yeah, when they went winless.
Yes, that was a
and then they
plunge.
threw a
All
parade
right.
in the city.
That was a plunge, all right. It was a plunge for death, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Browns.
Hugh Jackson hasn't been hired for another coaching job since.
Never again. No one will hire him as a head
Oh,
coach.
man,
I don't even know if he can be a quarterback's coach anymore. He was such an embarrassment on that. So that can be, but that also could be a good thing. What if they're terrible? Now everyone sees it, so Mara will fire him. The problem is, I think you're right. Mara's terrible. We've seen that it really, he really doesn't know what he's doing. He sided with Jerry Reese over Coughlin in the beginning of his, when they got rid of Coughlin first, when really
Where's
it was Jerry
Reese?
Reese. I know.
Another guy that's absolutely disappeared off the face of the earth. Thank you to Jerry Reese and all. If I was Tom Coughlin, I'd be like, this guy chose my fate with the New York Giants when I won 2 Super Bowls for you guys.
Oh yeah, and Jerry Reese with his illustrious first-round picks of Eric Flowers, Evan Ingram, and Eli Apple after that.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, seriously, Eli Apple, what a joke. But you want to know something?
That's another guy I would love to get.
He's been a
slammed down
better
in a
pro
wrestling.
away from the Giants. He really has.
Well, yeah,
been.
he had a good stretch with the Bengals. I'll give you that, and make that half a year with the Saints, but still
better than the Giants.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's a
he had his mother speaking for him. I mean, seriously, she was on the Campbell Soup commercials. It wasn't his son on the Campbell Soup commercials. She was. And she actually got a job as an analyst with ESPN for like a couple of months before they realized she can't read off of a teleprompter. As soon as that happened, she was fired.
Yeah, and Eric Flowers and Evan Ingram, the same kind of thing. Eric Flowers was at least decent his rookie year, but after that fell off badly. He goes to Washington and starts playing well as a guard, and then Evan Ingram is now looking pretty good in Jacksonville after he's just, as we call him, pot hands with the Giants.
Oh, by the way, I like Carl's question. What does Josh Source say about May? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Well,
I haven't heard from Josh.
We'll have to bring it up on his show.
I think he's a little lost right now. A little lost in translation.
Carl wanted me to ask you about his other questions. Errol, you know what I mean when he asked Speedy, have you ever taken one eye to the optometrist? And he also added that Speedy would say jerk it and pork it.
I like to jerk it. What do you think, Speedy? You like beef jerky?
It's all right. I prefer like warm beef. Like
I figured you like warm beef
in comparison to cold.
Warm beef is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heated
beef?
Well, yeah. What depends?
Soft beef or hard beef?
Depends on what it is.
You like it hard or soft?
It's probably best in between, but like steak is good, so of course.
So you like it hard?
I like many kinds of meats. It could be either way for me, as long as it's not like undercooked badly.
Undercooked. Yeah. So if it's just like straight, right in there, you'll take it.
In most circumstances, yeah.
I figured. Okay.
But yes, Carl Josh's sources about May. Yeah, you never know what they might reveal. I think Josh was pretty high on Drake May out of the draft, but he actually said Penix was his favorite quarterback out of the draft, which is definitely an interesting take. But going back to where you're saying, Fish, about John Mara too. Like, think about all the cover-ups with the whole Josh Brown thing, and Also, I forgot about this name completely, how horrible he was. And I saw in one of the highlight reels of what we were discussing last week was Chad Wheeler. Like, that was another one they kept on the roster for a while. It was a god-awful right tackle. Kept him on the roster, and he did even worse things than what Alec Brown did. Yet they cover that up kind of thing, too. Like, since the whole Tom Coughlin debacle, it's really been a dysfunctional look for the Giants, the way they've operated in so many ways. And like you said, Fish, it's made them an undesirable location for them to go to. The Giants signed all those defensive free agents that offseason with Jack Rabbit and Snacks and Vernon. And since then, where's the free agent spree? Kenny Galladay for 18 a year?
Since then, Jack Rabbit found a dead body in his basement by his brother.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm about to say something I've never thought I would ever say in my life.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's see.
And that's that I need John Mara to be more like James Dolan.
Wow.
He has to stay out of what's going on in the franchise. Just go play some blues music with a crowd you paid to be there, just like James Dolan. And just occupy yourself, enjoy your billions, and have your daughter make movies. Just go hang out with Tish in LA. Leave it alone.
I would love to hang out with John Mara. I would just go to a concert. I don't know what he liked, Led Zeppelin or Def Leppard. Could you imagine me and John Mara just like rocking it out, going in those mosh pits? I mean, that would be great. I would sit there and just wonder if he's going to get killed, because most of the people in the mosh pit will probably notice him and say, "That's John Mara. Let's kill that SOB."
They just bring him to the Kiss Army. There's 100,000 people there anyway. They won't notice him.
I mean, Joe Shane. I mean, most of the Giant fans can't stand him. I've been on a bunch of chat rooms and they can't stand him. As a matter of fact, the only draft pick that they liked was Neighbors. Malik Neighbors in the tight end that they drafted. They like him too. They like Theo too. That was something that they liked. But everybody else, oh man, they were like, he was reaching. He was reaching well.
Or there's other things you
maybe he was reaching somewhere else, if you know what I mean, Speedy.
For other positions too. Like there was other value I thought they could have taken advantage of. Like that's why when I texted you, Fish, about all the DB picks, like all right, fine. Like I didn't mind the third round corner they took is fine. He's an opposite type of player of Flott. Like I think it could work as a slot corner rotation. But in the second round, the tackle that the Chiefs drafted, like at the end, he was supposed to be like early second round pick.
But again, going back to Hard Knocks, you could sit here and if you're a Giant fan, you want to see what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, I did with the Jets, even though I knew it was going to be a debacle, because it's the Jets. Every time the Jets are on anything, any source, I mean, I'm watching Flight 24. I mean, I like Joe Douglas. I really, really do. But I don't want to see what's going on behind closed doors, because I'm going to point my finger when I see something I don't like. And if I am the Giants, I do not want Brian Daboll. I do not want to see what Brian Daboll does behind closed doors, because he's been attacked by numerous amount of coaches over the last couple of weeks, months. Okay. He's been attacked. So as a fan, I don't want to see what's going on behind closed doors with this team and this organization. That's just me.
And wasn't it the Jets last year that was complaining that Hard Knocks had too much with like the player cuts and stuff like that? Too much
the
of the
Jets
emotional
pushed that
stuff?
away. They actually were the organization that said, I don't want to see that, and I don't want to be a part of that.
And you definitely wouldn't want to see if Brian Daboll takes it. I don't think he did it to players as much as he did with coaches, but you definitely don't want to see him take it to that level in front of these younger players too, because this is a very young team that the Giants have. And a lot of, like you're saying, a lot of these guys are going to have to be relied on day 3 picks and undrafted guys to really rebirth the depth of this team. Now, the defense looks a lot better now. They could definitely be a top half of the league defense. But the offense still has a lot of question marks. Now, Neighbors is one piece, which is great, a very good piece to build on, but they still have a lot of question marks beyond that. And their offensive line might have got better. We'll see, but still a lot of questions.
Might have gotten better?
Maybe. It's tough to tell, but
if
it is, it's not going to be like, it's going to be.
Could it be worse? Could it be worse? That offensive line was so bad. It wasn't even like they weren't strong enough. It wasn't that they weren't mobile enough. It's that it looked like they had no idea what the plays were, and looked like I had no idea how to protect anything and pick up basic stunts. If I have to watch Evan Neal mess up a simple tech stunt or an exit stunt ever again, it's going to be I can't do it. He's got to get off the field. I would love, you brought up the name Eric Flowers, Speedy. They got to move him into guard. If he can't play in space like that and he can't figure out the stunts, he needs to be in between two guys, at least one of them who knows what's going on.
Aren't they going to do that? Because they just
I hope so.
They brought in an offensive tackle in, didn't they?
Yep, Illuminor from the Raiders.
Right.
And they brought in John Runyon from the Packers.
And Runyon could play tackle. I think Evan Neal is going to be a guard because they still have Thomas there, as we all know. He's one of the best. To me, he's one of the top 3 tackles in the league. And if Thomas can stay healthy, they're going to be the offensive line will be a lot better. I mean, the problem with Thomas is he hasn't been healthy for the last year and a half. It's been a big problem with keeping that guy healthy, maybe because the offensive line is absolutely terrible. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions, and Tish and Mara, they're going to have to spell it at a spelling bee a lot better than they have, because spelling it the way they have has not sold anything to the Giant fans. As a matter of fact, even some of these podcasts that I've listened to with the Giant fans, they've been saying, why doesn't Mara and why doesn't Tish sell the team? I mean, they obviously don't know what the hell they're doing, and this organization's never going to win again if they don't find the right guy to lead this team. And every Giant fan loved the Dable move, but over the last really 3 to 5 months, it's been what you're hearing about what was going on in that locker room. It's been they're saying that John Dable's Hitler. I mean, that's what they're saying, and if that's the truth, why do the players want to play for him?
Well, let's hope it's not a coach of the year fluke like Matt Nagy of the Chicago Bears in 2018, Carl. I know you remember that one well. What a coach of the year, and then everyone hated him ever since.
Baker Mayfield or Daniel Jones? I don't know what Daniel Jones is. That's the thing. Until we see what Daniel Jones has around him, and if he can use those weapons around him, Neighbors is a good weapon. They brought in who was the other guy they brought in? The veteran player,
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson maybe he wakes up, and Allen Robinson's a good secondary wide receiver he can throw to. I'm not going to blame Daniel Jones. Baker Mayfield had weapons. I mean, look at what Baker Mayfield was throwing. Baker Mayfield had all these weapons. Mike Evans was one of the best wide receivers in the league. Tell me the best wide receiver Daniel Jones is throwing to. Seriously, give me one of them, and don't give me who I think you're going to give me, because I do not want to hear Slayton. Because Slayton is not anywhere close to Mike Evans.
Fish, it might be the one random year of like Dante Pettis in 2020.
You know, I almost said that. I really did almost say Pettis. You know, he would throw him the ball, and somehow it didn't look clean ever, but on the deep balls, Pettis somehow got open and made those plays.
He wasn't a good route runner, but he was good at like random intermediate stuff that you just like, how did this work?
I mean, if you're a Giant fan right now, and I want to bring Scoops in because I want to know, he's a Giant fan. You're all Giant fans, but I can't stand the Giants organization, and I'm actually happy that I'm a Jet fan. Okay, as a Giant fan, I think you're going to see at least 5 to 10 more years of just terrible football. That's just my opinion. And all you Giant fans, you can make excuses all they want until they find where this team is heading, and is Joe Shane the guy to lead them. I don't know if they're ever going to find their way out of this hole. But Scoops, I mean, you're a Giant fan. What are your thoughts to the Giants offseason and Hard Knocks for the New York Giants moving forward?
So one thing that I want to mention is that I've never even watched Hard Knocks. I've never watched a single, I'm assuming it's a series, right? It's like I don't even know. My thing is that I want to bring up something that you mentioned, Earl. Like, what is it exactly that I'm looking forward to? Like, when I'm actually going to be viewing Hard Knocks? I mean, yeah, there's all this drama going around. We have Wink Martindale leaving over the last slice of pizza over Daboll. You had, of course, the whole drama with Saquon Barkley. And, you know, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm really only excited with the Malik Neighbors signing. With who's the guy that they got the second round? I can't remember.
It was Tyler Nubin.
Nubin. I like that pick a lot too. That's the pick that pick is the pick that they got for trading what's his face?
Leonard Williams.
Yeah, Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks. I like that pick a lot. The first 2 picks are really what's getting me into like watching Hard Knocks. And I want to watch Hard Knocks because of that. But
You're getting ready for Hard Knocks, really, just because of 2 players that they drafted.
That's the only thing that
scares me about the Giants.
That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing that's exciting. And also, I want to bring up one thing that you mentioned too with the New York Jets. The New York Jets, of course, had Aaron Rodgers. This whole Robert Saleh, is he the guy? And yet Nathaniel Hackett relationship. That was all the drama for last season. And that I'm like I said, I'm not a Jets fan, but I was looking at that and being like, wow.
So it wasn't Aaron Rodgers that you were excited to watch Hard Knocks? I mean, seriously, I didn't give a crap about Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett. As a matter of fact, I would have wiped my ass with Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett as coaches at Hard Knocks. I mean, everything that Robert Saleh said, every single thing that he said on Hard Knocks, everybody following him and listening. Oh, he's a born leader. The only thing he led was that team falling apart in the second half of the season with quarterbacks that couldn't throw the ball. So, I mean, honestly, I was not excited with the whole Robert Saleh thing. I just wanted to see Aaron Rodgers and some of the acquisitions that they made in the offseason, because I thought they made a lot of them, and I wanted to see the different personalities. The only thing that I think, if you were a Giant fan, that you should be excited to see is guys like Brian Burns. I mean, you gave him a lot of money. I want to see what kind of leader he is, the personality that he is in the locker room. And I guarantee you he will be featured in the second episode. The first episode is going to be Dable and Daniel Jones. That's what I believe is going to be the first episode. The second episode is going to be Brian Burns, because his leadership and what he's going to bring to this team, because you guys have a beast in the middle. You have one of the best defensive linemen in all of football, and he's really transitioned the defensive side of the ball for the New York Giants. But when you have one guy and you don't have anything else, that's scary. And that the only thing that if I was excited, Neighbors too. I think Neighbors is a fun guy. I love his excitement, his personality, what he said at the draft. And he said that New York was the place I wanted to be and all that other stuff. We'll see if he wants to be there, because I mean, if the Giants can't get him the ball, I think he's going to be 1 foot out when it comes to the organization, because we've seen Odell Beckham. That was the way he is. And you can't have a personality like that in your locker room. So
Carl says the Bears would have been amazing on Hard Knocks, but they've stated they will never do it.
Yes, but they're going to be forced to do it eventually. They will definitely.
Oh, yeah, when Caleb Williams buys the team, like he wants to. Like he wants to.
Caleb Williams was never going to buy that team. He's never going to have that money. We have to see if Caleb Williams, and listen, I think Caleb Williams is going to be special. I've said it many, many times. But if he isn't, the question is he ever going to make $1 billion? I mean,
believe me, he'll get the first $75 million a year contract.
Maybe
he's gone.
Maybe if he's good, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe by the time 5 years, he could be $100 million player. Yeah. Eventually, we will see $100 million player.
Oh yeah.
So it's crazy. If you're a Giant fan, you should be excited, but not excited. Excited, but not very excited. Hard Knocks is awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch because the Giants weren't on it. Now, I don't know if it's going to be awesome to watch, because you're going to get a chance to see the inside source of what this organization and what this team is. And John Mara will be on the first episode too, because he's been the talk of the town. I mean, he's been everything. And a lot of Giant fans are just not happy with him. Could you be happy with an owner that sat there trying to brush everything under the bus when Brown was there?
Right.
I mean, would you be excited with Tisch when Tisch came out and said that he lets Mara do all the GM and personal stuff with the organization? He's just the money guy. I mean, you want to hear that from an owner?
Which he shouldn't be that much in the way anyway, like Fish was saying. Like the football guys, you're the football guys.
I mean, if I'm a fan of an organization and a team, I wouldn't be happy about that. So I already know what my owners already said. Okay, Woody Johnson's enough. Brian, who's the other one? Was it Brian Johnson? No, it wasn't Brian Johnson.
Chris
Johnson. I'm sorry, Chris Johnson. All the same in my eyes. I mean, it doesn't matter what their name is. It's just the last name Johnson.
There's Chris Johnson, the running back, that likes to take shots at the Jets too.
They can wear my Johnsons, right, Speedy?
I don't know.
Would you wear your Johnson?
I don't know what that is.
On the highway to hell, right?
Okay, now we're bringing up AC/DC. Maybe John Maris.
Maybe shave the ass.
Maybe John Maris could go to the AC/DC concert.
I would shave the ass, Speedy. Would you?
I'm not shaving anyone's ass.
Oh, you could shave Fish's ass.
I am not shaving anyone's ass.
This is how you shave, Speedy. I mean, seriously. Do you know anything about shaving?
Yes, but I'm not doing it to my ass. This is how you shave. Carl says Hard Knocks only being 4 episodes due to the length of the preseason sucks. Back in the day, I think it was 6 episodes.
The Chinese pirates.
That is good. I'll give you that one. That is a good graph. That is a very good graph.
That's pretty good, Speedy.
That is a very good graph. I will give you that one.
That's a good picture. I like that. Shave the ass, Speedy. Shave the ass.
Oh, and with the quote too. I didn't see that the first time.
Shave the ass, Speedy. Shave the ass. Just a few minutes, we will be talking to Grizzlies play-by-play broadcaster Eric Hasseltine. He will be joining us. He hasn't been on the show for about a year, about the same time.
He's broadcasting in season. It's hard to get those guys in then. But once
he's hanging out, enjoying the pina coladas. You like pina coladas?
I do.
How about the coladas?
I don't know what a regular colada is. I don't remember any.
Well, you could share the colada.
The Celtics keep on going up by like 10 and letting it get like within 3. And this was like without Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If the Cavs win this game,
Game 7,
it could go Game 7. I'm telling you right now, this series could go 7 games. And remember, Allen's not healthy. Donovan Mitchell's playing hurt.
LeVert's out too.
LeVert's out. I mean, the fact that the Cavaliers are still in these games is pretty impressive. I still think the Cavaliers are going to try to and start trading away pieces. I wouldn't be surprised if Donovan Mitchell gets traded for a slew of draft picks in the offseason. I could see that. The Cavaliers could get 5 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell. I could see Miami doing that. I don't see the Knicks doing that, but who knows? If the Knicks lose this series in just absolute crazy fashion, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks go after Donovan Mitchell in the offseason. A secondary offensive player like that could definitely give them that boost that they need to get over the hump. But we'll see. And by the way, Donovan Mitchell played very good defensively this year, so he fits what the Knicks are trying to do. So we'll see. We'll very much see in the very near future as the season is about to end. Hopefully not for the Knicks, but
maybe for the Cavs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe the Giants season could be over before you even blink. I mean, seriously. Before you blink, that season could be over for the Giants.
It was funny. That obviously the schedule release was today. I saw many tweets that already have the Cowboys NFC playoff elimination graphic up. Well, we already know the Cowboys aren't going.
Why does everybody attack? Why does everybody attack the Cowboys? The Cowboys haven't done anything to anybody. I mean, Jerry Jones does a lot to people.
Oh, he does.
But the Cowboys as an organization hasn't done anything. I mean, we all know who the GM and who the leader of that organization is, but have you heard from Micah Parsons? Thank God you haven't heard from Micah Parsons. I mean, he's been attacked on his podcast over and over and over again. He was the one that was sticking up for Zach Wilson.
Yep.
I mean, he was the only one sticking up for. We don't know what Zach Wilson is. Micah, I think we know what he is. If you
there was actually a video of Parsons during the draft, like crying at the Eagles picks because he wanted those players on the Cowboys with him.
Crying?
Yeah, he was just just terrible. Because he's right, the Eagles drafted really well, and the Cowboys, are all about flash and not about substance.
Hold on. What did you say, Speedy?
He's very butthurt.
You said something else.
No, I didn't. I said he's very butthurt.
No, you said somebody.
I said he's very somebody's very butthurt. Micah Parsons.
That's another take. Anyway,
before we go to break, I'll just read
somebody's butthurt.
Keith says they won't win, but something seems to be missing from the Celtics. Carl says Mitchell to the Bulls for Levine and 2 first-rounders. Yes, Cowboys did re-sign Zeke. And Keith says, like the Jets last year, the Cowboys.
Thank you, Keith.
Are I'm not going to say that word.
Well, I'll tell you somebody's that his butt is probably not hurt, and if it is, I'm worried, is Eric Hasseltine. And when we come back, we will be speaking to Grizzlies play-by-play broadcaster, our friend Eric Hasseltine. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Thank you for that, Errol. As you guys have already know, this is the Loudmouth Sports Minute, of course, with Tommy Scoops, as we just mentioned. And going right into the beginning of the business, over in the NFL, and ESPN insider Adam Schefter actually said Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins is pissed off over team's contract discussions. Higgins, who requested a trade back in March after being franchised back in February, may be on the move before the 2024 season. Other NFL news, new Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham is actually said he's at peace with being a role player behind star wide receivers like Tyreek Hill and Jay Waddle. Beckham, who signed a 1-year deal with Miami earlier this month, said that he wants a great ending to his story, hinting at a possible retirement after the season. And finally, over in the NBA, Luka Doncic announced that he will be playing tonight's game, Game 5 against the Thunder. He has actually been dealing with a knee and ankle injury, and he's going to be playing. But Maxi Kleber is actually going to be out with a shoulder injury. All right, now that's all for the game right now. I'm going to go over to Scoops and Scores right now. We're currently in the NBA. Boston has a 93-87 lead over Cleveland, with the Yankees currently having a 3-0 lead over Minnesota, and Philly. Speedy's not going to like this. Philly has a 10-2 lead over the Mets right now, with Tampa Bay having a 4-3 lead over Boston. And over in the NHL, Colorado and Dallas are both tied up at 1 apiece. And that is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to kick it back to their boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Come on, give me a beat. Give me one of those.
Good for me, good for you.
Willie Whoppers, Speedy. Willie Whoppers. Give me another one.
I want you to slide it right in. I don't drink a lot of milk. I'm not licking anyone. Spewing this nonsense to other bunch of
Welcome to our
control your
soundboard.
subconscious.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Our soundboard. Tommy Scoops, 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I am your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all our local listings, including our morning show with Brian Snow, is listen and check us out by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And I said listen because, you have to listen. And by the way, Odell Beckham, of course he's okay playing behind Waddle and Tyreek Hill. This is why. It's all about the money. It's all about the mucho dinero. As we all know, our next guest, who knows a lot about mucho dinero. And we're now talking to Grizzlies play-by-play broadcaster, Eric Hasseltine. Eric, what's up, buddy?
Just chilling, just hanging. Actually, not just chilling, running a 12-year-old baseball team. You ever want to go insane in terms of figuring out things to do in the summer? Running a 12-year-old travel baseball team might be at the top of the list.
Well, I don't coach any kids, but we get a chance to do play-by-play for 495 Elite with a lot of 8, 9, 10, 11, 14-year-old. Speedy's the play-by-play guy. I'm the color guy. Oh, yeah, it's great. By the way, Speedy is great at what he does, and I'm just one of those crazy people. And by the way, I want to give a shout-out to Ben because Eric, he actually came up to us, and he told me, he says, we don't want to be on Channel 12 News or Channel 4, Channel 7 News. Please keep it very, what did he say? I don't remember.
PG-13?
No, PG.
Right, PG-13.
He said PG because he said, I say, well, you don't have to worry about Speedy a sec. I know. That's why I'm telling you. You need to be PG. But you know what? We like to have fun, and hopefully the kids love when we're over there interviewing the kids, and the parents can't stand me, but that's the best part of it. Anyways.
No, it was, my son's a player, and we just had a lot of kids that needed a place to play. So we did a nonprofit thing. We got some sponsors, and one of them happens to be a local brewery. And as people come up to me at tournaments, they go, are you guys really sponsored by a brewing company? I'm like, yeah, because what better way to deal with 12-year-old baseball than beer? So you're the smartest guy in the park. And I said, well, I wouldn't disagree with you. But no, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch the boys develop, taking some lumps. But baseball is a passion of mine. I loved playing till I couldn't play anymore. And then I love watching kids get better between baseball and basketball. I could watch that 365. Of course, I'm a football fan, and it's just part of who I am. So it's been fun. It's been an early start to the summer compared to the last couple of years for us.
Oh, you enjoy it, man. And one thing you really enjoy to watch is basketball. And
yes,
for over the last couple of years, really the last 10, 12 years, you've been the voice of the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies are an organization that's had a lot of craziness, not only in the off seasons, but in the regular season.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts to the return of John Morant this year? I mean, John Morant, there was a lot of questions with the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Do they keep him? Do they trade him? Is he going to do something stupid again? That's been a lot of questions. But when he came back, he looked really good, and then he got hurt again. What were your thoughts of the season with John Morant?
Well, obviously, it was unfortunate what happened after the incident in March of the 22-23 season in Denver. He paid his penalty there, then got banged up a little bit come playoff time. They were bounced by the Lakers last year in round one. And that didn't have as much to do with Ja as it did that, on top of that night when Ja got in trouble in Denver, they lost Brandon Clark, their athletic power forward for the season with an Achilles rupture. Steven Adams was lost in January, and so you're like, whoa. Without those two guys and Anthony Davis, it was a tough matchup, and the Lakers obviously went on to the Western Conference Finals and got ousted by Denver. So at one point, I remember going into the game or the trip where Steven Adams got hurt, and the Grizzlies had won 11 straight, and they went into Los Angeles, and that was the Shannon Sharp night with his barking at Dylan Brooks and John Morant. And everybody that at that time was like, oh, you guys have everything you need to make a run to the Western Conference Finals. And I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. This is game 43. We got 38 more of these things left. Let's not anoint anybody as a team that's going there, because you never know what's going to happen. It's the one time in my life I wish I had been dead wrong. I mean, really, one time in my life, I'm like, I really wish I was way off the base on that. No, we were great. But it's what happens. And I think for the guys that stuck around this year, because then obviously what happened in the summer got Josh suspended for 25 games. And you hope he learns from it. I mean, we tend to forget that these guys are 23, 24 years old, and we've all done dumb things. And when we were 23 or 24, the problem is when you have every eye on the planet that watches basketball following you or looking for something, you're not gonna get away with shenanigans, so to speak. So I like Ja a lot. I've had a lot of positive interactions with him. He's changed a little bit since it happened, in my opinion. I think that's a good thing. He's kind of tried to keep more to himself a little bit. But you see how thin the line is of high-level team competing to go to deep into the playoffs to not even in the playoffs. When you lose a couple guys, it's tough. I mean, the Grizzlies this year set records for most starting lineups. I think there was 51 or 52 in an 82-game season, 52 different starting lineups, over 560 games lost to injury. Wow. Just the number of players that were on the roster, I think it got to 33. I mean, that's 2 full teams. So you're not going to win. Red Auerbach could, somehow, some way come back to life and coach that team, and they're not winning. It's just not going to happen. They still were competitive. And I've had a lot of people walk up to me after the season and go, "Oh, I'll bet you're happy that season's over." And I go, actually, it's probably one of the easiest seasons in my 23 years of calling games. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, those dudes that came in and played, a lot of them are never going to play in the NBA again. And they took it like that, and they played their tails off. The problem is when you're in a game and you catch teams maybe a little off guard because they don't know who you are, you get to the final 8 minutes of a fourth quarter, and it's what cutting time. I don't know how free we can be, but it's time to grab the stones and get to work, right? And when you're closing games with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden, and we got 4 guys from the G League and 1 guy that was on an NBA roster, the odds are not in your favor you're going to hold that 6-point lead. There were very few times where they got just blown out. And they fought, they scratched, they clawed. I thought that was a testimonial to the head coach and his staff, and the way Jaren Jackson was a leader and led by example. Desmond Bane was banged up. Marcus Smart was banged up. I mean, just to give everybody a perspective, in 5 consecutive nights. So you lose Ja to the torn labrum. He'd played, I think, 8 or 9 games. He'd been back for 12, 2 game-winning shots already. He's averaging like 27. He goes out with a torn labrum. Well, that's the end of that season. The next night, Desmond Bane gets a grade 3 ankle sprain. He's out for 6 weeks. The next night, Marcus Smart goes into the basket, goes towards the basket in Dallas, a game they're winning, and Luka chops down on his thumb just by going for the ball, not intentionally, and he's out for the rest of the year. Then you lose Luke Kennard. Then you lose Jake LaRavia, who was finally going to get an opportunity to play. And we saw him get better at the end of the year. We lost 5 guys in 5 nights. I started looking around going, as long as it doesn't come to the back of the plane, I'll be fine. But, let's not hurt the announcers and the old guys in the back. It was just like nothing I'd ever seen.
I saw on the Twitter page for Grind City Media, I think there was one game where your team had like 8 players that couldn't play in that game. There were 7 guys out with injury, and 1 guy was out on paternity leave or something like that.
There were several nights with 8 players. One in particular happened to be in February in Boston, and I don't recommend this strategy to go face arguably the best team in the NBA right now with 8 guys, 6 of whom did not have an NBA contract at the start of the season. You can imagine when I looked at Cedric Maxwell and I go, "Hey, you realize 6 of these guys weren't even in the NBA in October?" And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Yeah, I think it was 18.5 point spread." And I went, I can't talk about that because I'm in the NBA. So let's just say there was free money that night for a lot of people.
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring that up with the whole controversy with the betting, Jonte Porter, that happened
Here,
recently too.
former Grizzly, by the way, for a
Yes,
minute.
Yep. So, what are your thoughts to the way that the NBA is handling and what the thoughts of it all across other sports too, with the Otani situation, with the NFL too, like comparatively to the other sports?
Well, with Otani, I mean, the Otani thing's tough for me because I'd like to believe that Shohei had no idea.
You would like to.
I'd like to. I just don't know how anybody doing a bookmaking operation would give a guy a $5 million credit limit. You got to know that money's somewhere, right? These guys, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that world. Obviously, we all know people who have these guys on the side. Now it's a lot different. But if your interpreter has a $5 million line of credit, I would think it's like anything else that you got to see that the money's there, or you got to show that you have access to it. So if it's a victim of fraud, that's a tough thing because I'm sure they were very close because they spent a lot of time together.
Mhm.
That's so much different than Jonte Porter and so much different than anything in the NFL. Basically, Jonte Porter was saying, hey, look, these are the lines on me. I can just take myself out of the game and say I'm hurt. Go late. I mean, first of all, every red flag in the world would go up if you're betting a $90,000 parlay all on unders on Jonte Porter. I don't even know how they have a line for it because I think at the time he was playing like 14 minutes a game. But you got to be smarter than that if you're Jonte Porter. I mean, like every red flag. Oh, you're going to win $1 million on a 4-game parlay all on the under on Jonte Porter. Okay, that doesn't ring suspicious at all. So it's unfortunate because when I talked to Jonte when he was here in Memphis, I really liked him. And obviously he's been in a tough situation his entire playing career. He's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, who was projected to be the number 1 pick coming out of Missouri. Jonte had to stay back, fight his way into the league. I saw him when we played Toronto. I was like, man, I'm happy for you. I'm like, that's awesome. Keep grinding. You've got a chance. And that lure of easy money to some of these guys is just what it is. And I just don't understand it because to go out and hurt your career, let alone tank your career, it just makes no sense anymore because, yeah, you made $1 million. But if you are on a roster and now you make a certain amount of years, your minimum is $1 million per year. And again, this all goes, I'm looking at the screen here and we see Pete Rose and the 1919 White Sox, the Black Sox scandal. You know, Rose gets a lifetime suspension. Yeah, he bet on baseball. He bet on his own team. But you can't be in that position and do it. Do I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame as a player? 100%. And now with all this stuff being legal and the salaries being so high, everybody said, well, it's not really a danger. Well, there's still a danger because guys that are on their way out, and I think what the NBA did was right. They had to make an example of Jonte, and that's a shame. Whether that's an example that's followed by the NBL in Australia or La Liga in Spain or the ones in Israel, do they care? I would guess no for some of these leagues that would want a guy that's played in the NBA that could probably come in and help a local team win a title. I'll bet they'd say, okay, cool, you're with us. And now you're going to play 38 minutes and now you can't do that. But man, it's the slippery slope of legalized gambling. But let's be honest, it's something that everybody's doing anyway. Why not legalize it, monetize it, tax it? Same things with other things we could get into, and not to get into a political discussion, but there are things that people are going to do no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, look at what happened when prohibition was lifted. Look at what happened in a lot of states when marijuana became legal. And yeah, there were some bumps along the road. Of course there are going to be, but you've legalized sports gambling and all the people who are against it. Oh, all these families are going to be out of their homes because people are going to gamble so all their money away. Well, those people are going to gamble their money away anyway. I worked in a casino. I saw guys cash paychecks and lay them on the table. I mean, I remember vividly seeing a guy that I left my blackjack dealing shift, came back the next night. He was still in the same clothes at the same table. And I said, yo, dude, what are you doing here? And he says, well, I didn't go home. I went up, I went down, and now I'm up like, you know, whatever amount he was. And I said, I'm going to do you a solid. You're ejected. You have that right. And he goes, seriously? And I said, dude, go get a nap, come back, whatever. If you really want to stay, you can. I'm not telling you that. just trust me, because I'm about to come behind this table and I'm about to take everything in front of you, because that's the way this game works. Not because I'm fixing it, but that's what happens. And so, as I tell people that they gamble on sports, there's a reason they turn the lights on in a lot of casinos. It ain't because they're losing.
That's true. We are talking to Grizzlies play-by-play broadcaster, our friend Eric Hasseltine. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he's fantastic. He gives you a lot of good takes. He knows his basketball. He knows his football. He knows his sports, as he's a coach in the offseason, and he's one of the best play-by-play guys in the industry. You know, it's interesting when we're watching right now the Western Conference and we're watching this Timberwolves Denver series, and you got a chance to watch both of these teams. And Anthony Edwards is a star, and he's been a star since he's come into the league, but now he's becoming a superstar.
Yep.
And then you have Nikola Jokic, which everybody's taking shots. Some people think Jalen Brunson should have been right there with him this year. And Luka Doncic, I was a guy that was pushing Luka Doncic all season long. I thought he should have won the MVP, but Nikola Jokic is one of the best players we've seen in a very, very long time, especially with his numbers. When you watch this series, what stands out the most? I mean, the fact that they were up, Timberwolves are up 2-0, and then Denver came back and playing the way they're playing the last two games? Or do you think that because of the talent in the Western Conference and the top of the West is so good that we're going to see Anthony Edwards really become the superstar of the league that we've seen Nikola Jokic turn into in the last 3 years?
Well, I mean, in that series, I thought Minnesota caught him in game one. They just caught him. It happens. You come in, you play with, you're basically going in saying, we leave it all out here game one. We give everything we have. We try to catch them off guard. Denver is really good at trying to push teams early in games. Here's the thing about Minnesota. They've got young guys. They've got a steady point guard now with a former Grizzly and Mike Conley. And, you know, when you watch Anthony Edwards, to me, the thing that stood out this year was we saw him 2 years ago in the first round of the playoffs. And there were times where you're going like, if it clicks, this guy's going to be something different, like dangerously different to every other team. And if you remember, go back to the start of last season where Anthony Edwards is joking around about eating Popeye's chicken in the offseason and whatever. And Karl Anthony Towns came in and lit up the media and said, hey, it's not funny. We don't need to be treating our bodies this way. You guys make this big joke with Ant, and he's got to learn that he's got to take this craft seriously. I honestly think, I don't know because I'm not there. I know Mike and I know Kyle Anderson just from them being here and the types of guys they were to their teammates. I would be shocked if each one of them didn't pull him aside and say, look, dude, we've played with some of the best. We played against some of the best. You could be one of the best, but you got to take this thing and run with it and be serious. I watched him this year, different dude. Maybe that was Team USA too. I think that had to have a big hand in it, playing with the guys he played there. Talking with our guy that was there, Jaren Jackson, he said, yo, that cat's ready to explode this year. And he is. I mean, you just watch these highlights that you guys are putting up there. This dude he's different. He's just different. I thought it was unfair to him to start putting the Jordan comparisons. Oh, he looks like him. Oh, he plays like him. That's just unfair to anybody. He's that good. We tend to forget Michael had 3 years in college. Kobe had the year coming out, but, you know, his rookie year, he had the ball in his hands in the playoffs and airballed the top of the arc three, but they trusted him. You don't have those high school guys like that anymore. I mean, you talk about the best of the best. LeBron went there. He had his struggles in the beginning. You're going to struggle the first 2 or 3 years. If it's 1 year, that's incredible. But even Karl Anthony Towns, they said that. So for Cat, he's trying to get this guy up. I think Mike's a huge steadying hand. They catch him again. I don't know that they went in and got overconfident. I don't think it's the return of Rudy Gobert. I think Michael Malone's that good of a head coach. I think when he was in Sacramento, he got the most out of that team. I think he hunkered down, watched the tape. They had that long layoff. He probably was home for about 3 hours every night. That would be about it. I bet he was in his office, maybe even slept in the office and said, okay, this is what we got to do. Jamal Murray gets his groove going. That Denver team's deep. That Minnesota team's scary, but they still have some gaps there. And when Mike Conley goes out, to me, that loses a little bit. When they were able to pull Rudy Gobert out, that loses a little bit. And think about Denver with this. Nikola Jokic, I don't disagree with you, Errol. I think that Luka was so sensational this year. But you watch Jokic, and I think I might have told you guys this story once before. Sure, we were in Denver the first time we played them last season, and Steven Adams was with us. And we see Steven Adams at a local sports bar right by the hotel. We were watching Monday Night Football because I'm a Packers fan, and they were playing. Steven Adams walks in with his Australian accent, and he's like, "Oh, you boys like this Monday Night Football thing, right?" And I'm like, "It's a big deal. Why don't you come join us?" He goes, "Oh, I can't." And I said, "Why not?" Because I got to go watch film. I said, "You said you were just watching film." And he looks at me like I'm an idiot, and he goes, "Mate, it's Jokic." And I said, "Okay, I'll bite." "What do you mean?" "I'll take the bait. Let's go." And he says, "I can tell you what every other center in the league is going to do. I can tell you where they're going to go. I can't tell you, I promise I'm going to stop it, but you look at that highlight right there." He said, "He's just as likely to throw a pass over his head into a corner." He literally said that, "as take a jumper, as drive to the bucket. You never know. And I'm just guessing." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it. Go back and watch film, big fella. I'll drink one for you." Because he wasn't shy of having a beer with us on an off night. And he was just such a great guy and a tough, hard-nosed competitor. But even he said, he goes, "There's nobody like him in the league." And when you have that, it's amazing. They realized they had that when Mike Miller was with the Nuggets, and I know Mike from his days in the Grizzlies. They had him and Yusuf Nurkic. And Mike said he went to the team. His job in his last 3 years was full court one-on-one guy or full court 3-on-3 guy with the young guys. After 2 sessions with Jokic, he went to the front office and said, "Yo, this guy doesn't need to be with us. He needs to be in the game and playing." They started seeing it, traded Nurkic, and stuck with Jokic. Good decision. But I think when you look at Denver with the championship pedigree and the depth that they've gone through, plus you got young guys like Christian Brown, they're going to make a run. I would be shocked if Minnesota doesn't come back at home and win a game, though. I really would. I think that's in play. If Mike Conley is available to go, they'll figure some things out. I don't think Chris Finch is a bad coach. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's Chris Finch." Chris Finch is a good coach. He's been there for a while. You're just dealing with, like you said, the absolute gauntlet the Western Conference is. Everybody in Memphis is looking around going, "What are we going to do next year?" I'm like, they're going to be really good, but they might be the 6th seed. They might be the 7th seed. If other teams catch injuries, they might be the 3 seed or 2 seed. Heck, they gave away games with all those injuries because they didn't think they could catch Denver. Denver caught a cold streak, and they missed being the 1 seed by 1 game. Think about if they play their guys, win those games, because Denver had a stretch where they went through a tough road trip here or there. They don't have to face the Lakers in round 1. They face somebody else. Maybe they get through it. Maybe they just kind of catch a rhythm. That's the way the West is right now. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Clippers. Dallas, I don't think, is going anywhere. The Pelicans obviously have some reshaping coming their way. But you got a Houston Rockets team that just got the number 3 pick that was right on the verge of playing themselves in too. They could be really good in the future. This thing, and I can't figure it out. What happens in the draft? How does every Eastern Conference team pick the guy that can't help them? And all the Western Conference team finds diamonds in the rough. And I mean, Dallas found Jalen Brunson, and he basically realized, I'm not playing ahead of Luka, so I'll go sign a big deal in New York. And now he's got, 5 40-point games in the playoffs. He's about to tie Bernard King. And if they keep going, he's got a chance at 6 or 7, 8.
He tied Bernard King yesterday. He did. And now he has a chance to break it. Yeah.
I thought that was his 5th, and Bernard had 6.
No, Bernard, he tied with Bernard yesterday. I think Bernard has 5, and he has a chance to now break Bernard's record in the playoffs.
And the other stat was him and LeBron are like, he's second most in terms of 40-point playoff games, only to LeBron, who had 8 in one.
Yeah.
Run. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Jerry West was up there, and there was one other guy.
Michael Jordan. Mike and LeBron. Yeah. Mike was 7. LeBron and Jerry West, I think, were 8.
Oh, yeah. LeBron might have been only active players.
You guys are New York guys. My heart was broken as a young kid when the Golden State Warriors traded Bernard King to the New York Knicks for Sugar Ray Richardson, who could play. Michael Ray Richardson could play, but Bernard King was my favorite. I got a chance to talk to him one time in Memphis when he came for the civil rights celebration game, basically the Martin Luther King celebration game. He got a legacy award. And I told him that And I said, I remember the team with Purvis Short, Bernard King, World Be Free, and Just Barely Cares, Joe Barry Carroll. And those Golden State Warriors teams. And Bernard King lit up. He said, that was a great time in my life. That dude could flat out score. What a great player he was.
So my last question, the Knicks series, all the controversy with the referees, especially we saw in the Sixers series, now the Pacers. So what are your thoughts on the chippiness of both of those series for the Knicks?
The chippiness, I mean, like, boy, that's why I like Dante DiVincenzo. He's not afraid of anybody. Miles Turner's a big dude. And you read his lips during the TNT broadcast. I was like, oh, he just said that to him. All right, here we go. I like it. I like the fact that they have those three Villanova guys. It's such a shame that they can't review the kickball. It's such a shame that they can't go back and look at that. Because what are we doing? That should be an easy review. If the referees say maybe it was, or you should be able to review that, because it's pretty clear what the rule is, right? What's the difference on that and a foul? You either used your foot or you didn't. You either intentionally did it or you didn't. Excuse me, but especially in that moment, because DiVincenzo hit a three after the non-kick ball, and the Knicks were able to score. And aside from that, the Pacers had a break taken away from them. I always wondered, though, with Indiana's lack of defense, because they were just trying to outscore you, if the Knicks would be able to catch that. I don't necessarily agree with everything Tom Thibodeau has done about playing guys 54 minutes and 48 minutes like Jason Hart. Look, or I might have said Jason Hart, Josh Hart. If those guys say they can go, this is the playoffs. This is what you do. You're not getting on a plane and going every other night. You're not sleeping in a hotel. You're getting a rhythm, and you can play more minutes and you can get more rest. And the practices during this time of year, they're not intense. You're not trying to work on stuff. Those days are gone. So I think that the Knicks are going to eliminate the Pacers, in my opinion. I think it's been a fun series. I think you're looking at Knicks Celtics, which is what better thing on the East Coast for a New York-Boston matchup than anything. And if you got it in the NHL, if the Bruins could pull their weight and the Rangers could close out the Hurricanes, then you'd have that too. But the chippiness is exactly what you hope for with all the stuff from the 90s and the way those two teams battled. And I love it. I like hard physical basketball. If you notice, the scores have gone down because the referees have gotten away from blowing every touch foul. And I wish the game was played that way every night.
So do I. As everybody knows, we are talking to Grizzlies play-by-play broadcaster Eric Hasseltine. You bring up the Knicks and what the Knicks have done in the playoffs, and we actually did an interview with Charles Oakley, and Charles, I was at an event and I interviewed Charles, and I said to Charles, I said, hey, Charles, what is your comparison of those 94, 95 New York Knicks teams to now? I mean, the grittiness of this team and what the Knicks are producing and what they're showing as an organization and as a team this year as what they were doing in 94. He says they were nothing alike. I mean, the game is completely different from what we were in the 90s. But he said the one thing I can say about this Knicks team is they're making the players, they're making a lot more money. That was the one thing. And the other thing is the Knicks found a player out of nowhere that has become the star of this organization. And that's one thing about the Knicks that they're not lucky to find over the years is they bring in these veteran players and they don't develop into the players they thought. Amari Stoudemire being
I was going to say Amari Stoudemire, right?
Yeah. And other guys that they brought into the organization has failed. Carmelo Anthony, as good as he was, Carmelo Anthony couldn't get the Knicks over the hump. 1 year that they had 54 wins, but with Mike Woodson, they just couldn't get over the hump. Now you're looking at this team. This is a completely different team, differently coached, and the way they play team basketball, and they're gritty. You have guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson that have played together in Villanova that understand how to win, and they've brought that winning mentality to this organization. So my question to you is, when you look at this team, now I don't know if this is their year. I think they're a year away from being a championship team. With OG Anunoby 100% healthy, or even 85% healthy, going, if they can knock off Indianapolis, do you believe that this team can compete against the Celtics and knock off the Celtics, and why?
Because I think when you have a big man like Isaiah Hartenstein that's willing to do a little dirty work, it frees those guys up. So if I look at the matchup between the Knicks and the Celtics, by the way, Hartenstein's a free agent, and we might make some moves here. And no, I can't say anything about that. No, I love Isaiah Hartenstein and what he's brought to the table. Look at that. The screen he sets right there follows the offensive rebounding. He, to me, is your X factor. DiVincenzo can shoot. Brunson is the star. Hart is the glue guy. The X factor, the guy that's going to do something. So when we match up, what's Al Horford going to do with Hartenstein if he steps out to 15 feet? What are they going to do there? Now, you've got to figure out how you're going to slow down. Now, Precious Achiuwa, good pickup. Obviously, I know a little bit from his college days here for a year in Memphis. Love the kid. Met him many times. A great dude. The addition of Anunoby, is he going to be right? Is he going to be healthy? Because you got to have Anunoby go get Tatum or Brown, and then you got to go get the other one with probably, in my opinion, Achiuwa or Hart flip-flopping as best as they can, because those guys are going to go. The X factor for Boston, and the thing that I don't think a lot of people talked about, the addition of Drew Holiday gives them two elite wing defenders with he and Derek White. And so that's going to be the interesting factor there. I think, like you said, they're a year away. I just think Boston has got so much going for them when you watch their role players. Who's the role player that's going to step up for New York to match whatever role player the Knicks or the Celtics have that's going to step up? Because you look at these guys and you're like, who is Peyton Pritchard? Who is Sam Hauser? Who are these guys? And bang, 3 threes later, you go, that's who that is. And that's just what they do. Tatum is sensational. Brown is sensational. I did think the Ric Flair chop between the two of them was hilarious the other night. But Derek White is their glue guy. Drew Holiday is their, another glue guy. Al Horford has looked a little older in some of the series. So, is that going to be an advantage? I'm looking forward to it if that's the way it plays itself out. I think with the difference in where your superstars are is interesting to me, because Brunson clearly is the Knicks superstar. He's just, I got no problem with Jalen. People are like, is Jalen Brunson shooting too many shots? Heck no. I don't care that he only took 6 threes. If he's scoring 40 and he can make that mid-range game work for him and you're getting buckets, you're getting buckets. You got guys that can knock it down. So I think it's going to be the series. It comes down to who can lock down in an extra game defensively. And to me, that edge goes to Boston just a shade, not to disparage the Knicks and not to disparage Tom Thibodeau's ability to coach defense, because we know that's where he's been. But when you got White and Holiday on the perimeter, boy, they can get tough. They can get real tough with those two guys. But this Knicks team, like you said, scrappy, gritty, tough. They've got that New York City edge to them. And man, it was fun calling a game there this year when people believed in that team again. I'm telling you, where our broadcast spot is, we walk through the crowd, and obviously I'm walking in shirt and tie and have a press pass on, and guys are looking at me and going, "Yeah, you suck." And I'm like, "Yeah, no kidding. Thanks." We got 9 G League players. Tell me something else, Captain Obvious. And you give them back to them, and they're having fun. We go to a watering hole after the game, and people are having fun with it. I love it. The league is better when the Knicks are good. The league is better when the Celtics are good. The league is better when the Bulls are good. As much as I love our group, and we have a young star level player that needs to get his head right and everything right and play, the league is better when the blue chip teams are good. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bulls. You go out to the West. Golden State has become a blue chip team. Don't forget, Golden State missed the playoffs for 19 out of 20 years. They had to build it organically because the organization had gotten so bad. Oh, no, Kobe Bryant's on the board. Let's take Todd Fuller. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, they had reasons why they made the moves they did, but they found Steph Curry, thankfully for them, ridiculous for Minnesota, and in that draft. And then you get Klay Thompson, and then you get Draymond Green, who other teams were like going, we got to get this guy. We got to get this guy. I don't know that Draymond Green becomes Draymond Green anywhere but there because of the system they were running, but it was right. And I do know that for a fact that the Grizzlies were interested in Draymond Green with their late first round pick and decided to go a different direction. But when blue chip teams are good. And now I think Golden State is a blue chip team. I think the league is better when San Antonio's good because people will remember those teams. You have to earn that. And so for the smaller market teams, the teams like Denver, who's not a small market, but was a little less known, a small market like Memphis, you got to do it consistently. And as crazy as it is for the Knicks, they benefit from being there in the biggest city in our country, in the place where when you go, it is just alive. I mean, every time I leave there, I'm like, man, I love this city. But if I lived here, I don't know that I'd make it a year because I would want to have too much fun. I would be eating out every night and doing things I shouldn't be doing. But it's awesome. And even though they haven't had super high levels of success when compared to other teams, they're still the Knicks. It's still the world's most famous arena. So if we get a Knicks Celtics, the NBA is going, yeah. And, you know, to put that to bed, by the way, by saying that, everybody that tells me, oh, the league's rigged, they just want this. And I'm like, time out. I always use the Knicks as the example. I said, if the league was rigged, the Knicks would win 4 out of every 5 championships because there's no better city to have a champion in than New York because people outside of New York love to hate New York. And the 12 million people inside New York go, yeah, guess what? We're New York. What do you got? And that's the same thing with the Lakers. We'd see Knicks Lakers all the time.
That's true. I mean, hey, listen, I think the league's rigged, but that's just me. But Eric, I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, by the way, I love that Nash jersey over there, as we all.
Oh, I got that. I would take you in the billiards room. My favorite one. I don't know. You can see it. Can I try to turn the camera?
There you
If
go.
you can look over there.
There you go. Chris Childs. You have a Chris Childs jersey? He's coming on next.
No, that's Julie. That's the Doc. So my guy was Doc. I've had the pleasure to meet some guys, but yeah, and Chris Childs, boy, he was a heck of a player. No, Dr. J was my guy growing up as a kid. So I got a little Doc over there. Kobe in the pool room, and I have to lock the doors at night because my neighbors go, yeah, when you go to sleep, we're coming in. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We live in Tennessee. You know what happens when you walk in our door. We're not.
That's true too.
Yeah. Oh, good times. I mean, when I gotta come up there, we gotta go to a Mets game.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come out here, man, I would love to go to a Met game with you, even though I'm a Yankee fan. But that's you see.
Hey, I'll go see I see that too. I see the Mets in the background. I go to a Yankee game.
I like Citi Field more than Yankee Stadium. Okay, I'm just telling you the truth here. I like Citi Field.
I've been to both. I enjoyed it. I actually took an Uber from the NBA meetings in Jersey City just to see some friends at Citi Field. That wasn't cheap. The tickets were cheaper than the ride.
That's true. That's definitely true. But Eric, we love you. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon. You're always great. You're a great interview, and you have a great personality. And tell the kids to start playing gritty like the Knicks. If you could do that, you have a chance to win every year. I'm just kidding. It's the first time I can actually say that. But
I got to brag on my son a little bit. Little left-handed hitter, third baseman catcher. Into a wind, just missed his first bomb at a 255-foot fence. It landed right at the base of it. And I looked at him, and what I said to him was like, hit it harder next time. He looked at me and goes, I got you, Dad. So, yeah, I will. I'll tell him. Guys, I appreciate you having me on anytime. I know you got to go. Thanks.
Eric, you're the best. Eric Hasseltine, the voice of the Grizzlies, ladies and gentlemen. Always great personality, and he knows his stuff. He knows his football. He knows his baseball. He knows his basketball, as always. But great interview. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, I know he's been waiting very calmly, ladies and gentlemen, as we all remember the last interview we had. We were talking about goat balls, okay? I don't know if we're going to get into the goat balls, but we're going to have the great Chris Childs as the New York Knicks could be heading to the Eastern Conference Finals. He knows a little bit about that, as we know when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Petey, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Thank you to Eric Hasseltine, as always giving us a great interview and knows his basketball, as always, as his Grizzlies are on their way off on the off season. Hopefully, they have a pretty good draft, but this guy knows a little bit about New York basketball. Former point guard for the New York Knicks. We are now talking to ex-Net, ex-Knick, and ex-Raptor point guard Chris Childs. Chris, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? How's everything?
You look good, man, as always. I mean, you're getting ready to see this Knick team face off against Indiana for one more time. Hopefully knocks them off in Indiana, head off to the Eastern Conference Finals. The last time they were in Eastern Conference Finals, I think you know a little bit about that, as the New York Knicks in 99, 2000. What are your thoughts so far this season and really the growth of Jalen Brunson as a superstar and really how this team took off, adding Dante DiVincenzo in the offseason, Josh Hart making a trade last year at the trade deadline and putting these three players back together as they've won a championship in Villanova and now taking all their gifts from Villanova and the success of that team and bringing it to the Knicks?
Well, we still got one game to go to win, so it's kind of hard for me to put them in the finals. But the way the team is playing, it just lets you know how well coached those guys were in college. Jay, coaches guys to get them prepared for the NBA. So when they get there, they already understand how to play the game. And add those guys, and it's fun to watch them because they remind me of our team because everybody understands their role. Nobody is unhappy, or you don't ever see guys on the bench pouting. The bench is into it. The players are into it. They understand that Jalen's going to have the ball and be ready to shoot when he's coming off the pick and roll. And I heard the last interview, he does shoot a little bit too much for me, but it's working. He's scoring. He's clutch. He's making big shots, and he's making everybody around him better.
So I wanted to ask about the injuries, the way they've managed them so far this time. We've seen OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and all throughout the postseason, even at the end of the regular season too. What are your thoughts on the way Tom Thibodeau has managed that so far in the last really 3 months?
Well, it's been awesome because, as you know, in the playoffs, you need depth. You need bodies. And, those guys going down like that, the starters have to play, extra minutes. Every team in the NBA that's in the playoffs, they're injured or hurt somewhat. So Tibb is doing what Tibbs does. He understands the game, the nuances of it. He's putting guys in position to succeed. If we go further and we get to these conference finals, I wish we had OG because he gives us that extra body where we can switch on defense a lot. But guys are going to have to, buckle down, get this win against Indiana, and then we'll prepare for Boston when it comes.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard, our friend Chris Childs. Chris, you mentioned OG Anunoby, and they're saying he won't be back for Game 6. I do believe if the Knicks end Indiana, he will be back in that Celtics series. I obviously a hamstring. They want to make sure that they're keeping it carefully ready to make a move and bring him back to this roster. I think the Knicks obviously are planning to re-sign him in the offseason. He's still fairly young, and he's a gifted defensive player, as we all know. And I remember those Knicks teams in the 90s, from the 94 Knicks and even the 99, 2000 Knicks, which you know a little bit about, obviously. They were a very good team, defensively built, and that was something that Jeff Van Gundy preached, and Tom Thibodeau, who comes from the Van Gundy tree, is preaching that as well. Are your thoughts to Alec Burks? You know, he hasn't played for almost 3 months, and he really, and I'm going to be honest here, the last 2 games, he's been the Knicks' best player. He's really produced defensively when the Knicks needed an open three-pointer or a big-time three-pointer. He was the guy to shoot it. He has been incredible at the perimeter, and I think really has been the difference maker for the Knicks in the last 2 games. What are your thoughts to Alec Burks?
Well, he's a pro's pro. Like I said, when you're playing on the team and you look at the bench, how they're into the game, he's one of the guys that's into it. So he knows that his number might get called any time. So you have to prepare like you're going to play 30 minutes. You have to practice that way. You have to study that way. And I mean, I was surprised when, that he played as well as he did, but he's always been able to produce offensively. He made some great defensive plays, was always in position in the last couple of games when guys were beat. He understands the rotation, when Tibbs is calling on a jump screen where he has to come and cover somebody else's man, and you run to the other guy's man. So I think he's going to be key if we don't have OG in game 6. We're going to need his toughness. We're going to need his leadership, and we're going to need his professionalism.
One more question for me. I see all these ex-Knicks at these games, okay? I've seen Sprewell. I've seen Marcus Camby. I see all these guys. Patrick Ewing. No Charles Oakley, because we all know James don't like him. But why aren't you there? Why aren't you invited? What's going on with this Knicks team? Do you want me to drop the hammer on Allen Houston? This is ridiculous.
No, I've talked to a few of the guys. I called Oak last week to find out, what was going on with that situation, because I was one of his big supporters when that thing occurred with Dolan. And I caught some flack from not Dolan per se, but through other people, because I supported Oak. But, that's my teammate. And if he's going down, I'm going to go down with him. So I'll have a conversation with Oak in the next few days to find out what's going on, because I definitely need to get back to the arena, because I haven't been in the Garden since I got traded to Toronto. So it'll be good to get back to see a game, to see fans, to see old friends, and support the team that I'll always be a fan of, because I played in New York.
So what are your thoughts on this referee controversy we've seen in both series so far? Well, but first with the Sixers, with the whole Joel Embiid thing and all Nick Nurse's nonsense, and then this series, Rick Carlisle says there were 78 missed calls the first 2 games.
Which is ridiculous, by the way. That's not true.
Well, if it's 78 missed calls, it's 100 and something possessions. We should have just been a free throw shooting contest. But I mean, I understand coaches and players, getting on the refs, because they're going to miss calls, but you cannot let that affect the next play. That's coming from somebody that, I got a few technicals during my time yelling at the refs about missed calls, but that's just the nature of the beast. I hear it's rigged. I mean, that's basically saying you're cheating. And so I don't think the referees, I have to be careful how I say this, that the referees are in charge of the outcome of the game, because we know how that went with one referee when he was reffing. I'm not going to say the name, but I don't think the refs are in it to be the ones that are responsible for one team winning or losing. It's been bad calls throughout the playoffs. That's just part of it. They're human. They make mistakes, but you can't let that affect the next play. That was something that I was taught in college. That was something that Jeff preached a lot when I was there. That was what Lenny Wilkins preached when I was in Toronto. So you just have to continue playing the game because you're going to have missed calls.
We are talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard, our friend Chris Childs. You know, watching that little video over there with you and Kobe, I mean, that right cross, man, that's deadly. Did you ever think about, reaching out to Jake Paul? I mean, Mike Tyson's fighting him now. You might as well. I mean, Nate Robinson, he had his tick for tack. He got knocked out, but yeah, hey, we all know that. But I think you stand. I think you stand better against Jake Paul than Nate Robinson. Did you ever think about, going into boxing on the side and making some mucho dinero?
I did it when I was younger, but I'm 56 now, man. The only thing I'm boxing is groceries. I'm not doing any boxing, but yeah, shout out to Mike Tyson. Shout out to Jake Paul. If from watching Mike train, man, Jake, I don't think he's ever been hit with a punch like Mike's going to throw at him. So
it's rigged. Come on, Chris. You can honestly think that Tyson's going to go out there and really start throwing nasty haymakers at him? There's no way. It's all about money. Mike knows that it's all about a show. That's what he's doing. It's all about a show. He knows. Look at them. They were just promoting the fight the other day, and they're laughing. He's laughing because Mike Tyson was on. I forget. It was on a Jimmy Fallon show a year and a half ago. And he says Jake Paul has been a godsend to boxing. I mean, he's bringing new fans to the game and really helping promote the boxing world. And he's making more money than some of these professional heavyweight champions. So he's bringing in fannies in the seat. So Mike Tyson loves this. So listen, my sale to you is, hey, let's go. Have Logan Paul, reach out to you. 56 years old. I like to, chew on some Oreo cookies and flip them in my mouth. But you know what? If I didn't have any milk, I'm not eating those Oreos. So, hey, you know what? I'm going out there and saying, you know what? I'm ready. I'm 56. I could still throw a right cross, and I could throw a nice little uppercut hook. You want to challenge me? Yeah, give me a couple million, and we'll call it a deal, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Speedy knows about dribbling gold balls, right, Speedy?
No, I don't.
All right, so we all know that, giraffes.
But listen to this, though, guys. We are talking about Mike Tyson. So if he hits Mike, there's no telling what he's going to do, how he's going to react. We're talking about somebody that, if you've seen some of his interviews with guys and they ask him the wrong question, that hamster starts running, and he's liable to do anything. So yeah,
called him a hamster.
I've heard because when he fought Roy Jones, it was different because they were both icons, and he's like, hey, let's just put on a show. Let's do this. But Jake Paul, he might get in there like, all right, let me see if I can get one on the champ. And if he hits Mike and they have an agreement and he does something that they didn't agree upon, it's not going to be pretty for Jake Paul.
I hope it happens. I would love to see Mike Tyson go crazy and bite his ear off.
Well, I heard that they have stipulations in the contract that if he has to last a certain amount of rounds for Mike to get paid a certain amount of money. So I'm pretty sure he's going to have to carry the fight for the entire, I don't know if they're going 8 rounds, 10 rounds. I'm not sure, but I heard that was in their contract, but I'm not a boxing promoter. So I don't know if that's part of the contract, but we'll see, man. I'm just saying, we were talking about Mike Tyson.
Well, you know what? If you want to fight the hamster, whatever you want to call him, a gerbil, a marsupial.
There you go.
Squirrel.
Would you really want to bite off a hamster's ear, though?
Hey, when you said gerbil, I thought about Richard Gere.
Well, you need a tube for that one.
Yeah.
Pretty good, Richard Gere. Have you met Richard before? I'd ask him that question. That would be my first question.
Long time ago, from a distance.
From a distance. Are you listening to Bette Midler when you're doing that?
That's good. That's pretty
I'm
good.
losing it, man. Oh, man. Richard Gere. That's a good one.
So staying on the topic of punchable faces, Draymond Green likes to run his mouth and do things on the court to other players. Took shots at the Knicks a couple days ago, saying their playoff run so far has been a fluke. So what are your thoughts on those comments and just everything that he's gone through this season with all the antics of his?
I don't listen to Draymond at all. He's entertaining for some people. I've always been taught, when teams are being successful, enjoy the ride, let them have their fun. But he has the pedigree because he's won championships with the Warriors. Was a big part of their success. But sometimes you don't have to, always be heard. You can give somebody else praise. He was talking about the Knicks. He's talking about Minnesota, and he's talking about Ant-Man. That he's not this. Like, come on, Draymond. You can't be negative about a team that's doing what they're doing, undersized. We're undersized. We have to play the way we're playing to win. We don't have a post player. We have a post guard that's doing things, scoring 20 points in the paint a game. That's unheard of. The only guard that's doing that, other than Jalen, is Kyrie Irving that gets in the paint. So a lot of times guys talk without looking at the stats and studying what teams are doing, and you can't say what the Knicks are doing is a fluke. So if it's a fluke, let us keep fluking.
I'll tell you what he does study at. When he likes dirty plays, I mean, he likes punching people in the balls, kicking them in the balls, and doing all the nasty things that he likes to do. So, hey, go on a podcast. If he really wants to dabble in playing with himself, he'd probably put some fannies in the seats doing that, because we all know he likes taking pictures of things and posting it up on social media before he gets into trouble. So thank you, Draymond, for giving us something to talk about. As everybody knows, we are talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard Chris Childs. Chris, when you look at the league and the transition of the league, we've heard Adam Silver come out recently and say that he wants to bring back that all-time basketball. I said, well, you don't want anybody actually going to the line when you put a finger on them? Because I remember in the 90s when I actually watched the game where it was fun to watch. I've watched I saw those old Knicks like Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason. People look one way, throws the elbow the other. If you're going to go up for a jam, well, you're going to go into the second row of the seats if you're going to try to do that. I don't see basketball coming back with that, but I would love to see more hand checks. I would love to see players be able to put your hands on a player where it's harder for them to make those easy, jump shots. I mean, you see these guys, shooting these 3-point shots, and if you put a finger on them, they're going to free throw line to shoot 3 shots, and more than likely they're going to hit 2 out of the 3. So I don't like the way basketball is. I don't like how it's the determination of the superstar, and that's what it is. It's all about protecting the superstar instead of really making the game more fun to watch again. Then it's all about the players. What are your thoughts to Adam Silver coming out and saying that? And do you think that basketball needs to change a little bit more, make it more of a defensive game than this boring offensive style of game where you're seeing 3 after 3 after 3, where I'm out, I don't even watch it anymore in the regular season?
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever go back to the way the game was played in the 90s. I think that's just him, blowing smoke where it's not even needed. The fans have fell in love with the pace of the game. I remember we had games sometimes where it was 82-85. Where if you weren't bleeding or you didn't have a tooth fall out, it wasn't a foul. I don't think a lot of guys would want to play that way. Guys want to be comfortable. Guys want to go out there and score freely. Guys like the fact that, if you watch it, I can't watch a whole game. I can't even watch a whole playoff game because it seems like every time you watch a game, somebody's dribbling, their head is jerking back, they're flopping their hands up, they're trying to entice the referees to make a call. They make a call, but that's when the referees, fans are coming to see the players decide the game. Now it's the referees making calls, and the players are going to the free throw line, and that's how they're winning games. So I wish it would go back to at least where you can put a forearm on the guy when he's dribbling, or you can put a hand on him when he's dribbling to be able to control him. Because if not, a good NBA player, you're not going to be able to stop him. You're only going to hope that they have an off night because you can't touch them. Guys aren't used to just playing defense without their hands. And if you've seen a lot of the stars, a lot of the good players are getting in foul trouble in the first quarter. Because of you can't touch anybody. So if that was the case, if the rules committee and the NBA Player Association can come together and change that, I think it would benefit some older, slower, fat guys to come back and play the game. But other than that, I don't see much changing.
So one of the other guys that made comments last week was Gilbert Arenas, saying that 1990s basketball players were on steroids, that Kobe would score 45 points a game if he was playing at that time, and he thought the era was overrated along with the 80s. So as somebody who played in the 90s, what are your thoughts to those comments?
Gilbert is I remember Gilbert, I watch some of his stuff and I hear some of the stuff he says, but I remember Gilbert when he was a braces wearing rookie at Golden State when he wasn't even playing. He was like the 15th man, and he would wear a suit behind the 12 players that were playing. He was a nice guy. Would come up to me, play in LA in the summer league, and give him pointers or whatnot. And he's become this different person now, and he's selling likes and views for his podcast. You can't be on steroids and play basketball. It just doesn't work. It's not football. Your body's not made to have bulk of weights and body mass. So if I would say it was less than 1% of any player that I know during my career that was on steroids. A lot of us didn't like needles, so I know we weren't taking steroids. Now, if you're talking about enjoying a puff here and there, now I agree with that. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on, but there wasn't any steroid use during the time that I was playing. But that's just Gil. He just, getting fans and getting likes and views, and that's just the era that we live in now. You make asinine comments to get people to follow you, whether it's good or bad, and it's going to put money in your pocket.
Boy, does it ever. I mean, when you look at the league and the way the league is trying to predict who the next superstar is going to be, and one of them is Anthony Edwards, who's showing everybody why he is one of the better young players in the league. Some people think is the next Michael Jordan. I beg to differ. You can't compare Michael Jordan to anybody because Chris, it's a different style of game. What are your thoughts to Anthony Edwards and his growth over the last 3 years?
Oh, the kid is awesome. I saw him in high school down in Atlanta, and he reminded me of a young LeBron James coming out of high school. But the growth the last few years, it just shows the amount of work that he's put in, along with his God-gifted ability. But the guy is doing some remarkable things. But I wish people would let guys just be themselves and not compare to the next person because each person is different. Is he doing things similar that Michael did? Yes, the dunking, the creativity around the basket. But there's only one Michael Jordan, just like there was only one Magic Johnson. There was only one Dr. J. There's only one Larry Bird. There's one Bob Cousy, Bill Russell. So each era is going to bring a different type of player to the game that's going to do things differently than everybody else. And he's one of them. I think they're one player away from being the best team in the West. Yeah, they have the best record, but Denver is just a different machine.
So what are your thoughts on the point guard position, the way it's evolved the last couple of years, where we're seeing a lot more of these bigger guards or these forwards that are taking up the ball, like you see with Luka Doncic, who's huge, and Jason Tatum, even with the Celtics ball handling a lot now too. Do you think like the Jalen Brunson type point guards will still become more prominent again, or do you think the league is shifting more to these bigger guys?
No, I mean, he's doing it against bigger guys. So if you can play the game, you can play the game. I know a lot of teams are getting point forwards, point centers, but those guys are different. If you look at Jokic and then you look at Joel Embiid, Joel Embiid wants to stay on the perimeter. Jokic wants to get to the basket and create from a smaller space. So you can't double as much. But if you do double, it's hard to recover back to the shooters. But I don't think that the smaller point guards are going to be obsolete going forward because guys, everybody can't be 6'8", 6'9", 6'7". These guys are just a freak of nature. But if Jalen, I'm pretty sure there's kids on the playgrounds in the gym working on their footwork like Jalen, because if you look at the stuff that he's doing, that's Kobe-esque footwork, Michael footwork, uh, Akeem footwork in the post, and he's doing it at 6'1". But people don't look at his height, look at his heart. He was limping around the whole game, but you could never tell on his face because he kept the same demeanor. And that's just a testament to him and his dad that, you know, I remember my dad telling me, stop with the facial expressions. You never let uh, the people that you're playing against to know what you're thinking or feeling. And so watching the game, the time that I did watch it, you couldn't tell he was hurt other than a little limp in his gait when he was walking. But the kid has a lot of heart. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of his dad. I remember when he was little, and he's doing amazing things. And the city is his.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard Chris Childs. Before we let you go, Chris, you right now see watching the playoffs and seeing all these talented young players. Is there a particular player that you love to watch right now in the NBA? And is he still in the playoffs? And do you think that any of these next up and coming superstars like Wembanyama and all these other guys are going to be the next guy that is going to lead the league into that next generation of talent?
Well, yeah, you know, you got Wendy. He's the up and comer, Anthony Edwards. I mean, Jokic is going to be around for a long time, but I mean, quite honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a big Josh Hart fan. I mean, the stuff he's doing at his height, he reminds me of Dennis Rodman, the way he can see where the ball is going after each shot before other people can see where the ball is going to bounce. And the kid just continues to make all the big plays to give us extra possessions, um, knocking down threes, playing defense. He's you have to have to make a team. You have to have guys that are going to complete the puzzle. And he's not the biggest piece on the board, but he's one of the most important pieces on the board. And you know, coming from someone that had to show tenacity and hustle to make it to the NBA, you can't do anything but admire the things that he's doing. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's a Nick because if he was on another team, he would be killing us on the boards right now. So I enjoy watching him perform on the highest level during these playoffs.
So my last question on a scale, like your
Oh,
confidence level for the Knicks.
before I forget,
Yeah.
I hope John starts listening to this. Tell him to stop eating all the damn popcorn at the game. And tell Steph, big T-shirts are no longer in. No, I'm just messing.
The Starberries are.
Starberries. Yeah, he did some great things. One of the most underrated guards to ever play the game. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. I was just going to ask your confidence level for them just finishing this series, and if they were to play the Celtics in the next round, your confidence level that they could beat them.
It's going to be tough because we're going back to Indiana. You know, the travel and all that stuff is going to be tough, but you're a professional. You come together on the road, and I think we'll get it done. When we do get it done, and we have to play Boston, we need OG back. Um, Alec Burke is going to have to play some major minutes because we don't know how healthy OG is going to be if he's going to be 100%. Because we're going to need able bodies in depth because that's what Boston has. They have depth on their team, like you guy was saying. They got guys that I've never heard of that are coming in playing key minutes. uh, important minutes to help their team be successful. So I think we match up well because they do a lot of switching, and that's good because Jalen's not going to run pick and roll with whoever's guarding, Tatum, whoever's, guarding Brown because that puts length on Jalen. And as we've seen in some of the games, it kind of bothered him. It took him a minute to figure that out. But we will be doing a lot of pick and roll with old man Horford. And I hope they switch and put Horford on Jalen a lot during that game. Then I really like our chances. But it'll be something great for the league. It'll be something great for New York. Uh, it'll be great for guys like myself and the other Boston players that have played the game to see that matchup again at each other's arena. That will be one that I will not miss. And so even if I have to get my own ticket, I will be at one of those games if they end up playing each other.
I just want you to tell everybody how they can find your foundation and donate money to all the things, all the good things that you do. Obviously, Speedy donate, I'll be donating, but everybody should be donating, especially all the great things that you've been doing.
Yeah, they can just reach me on my email, goldenchilds@gmail.com. Still mentoring young fatherless men and women. Still doing things with the homeless. Once I moved to Jacksonville and being, driving downtown Main Street where there's a lot of homeless people, and I live here now. I can't just sit back and watch. I have to do something, try to make a difference. It's something that my dad, when he was living, we started something like that together. He instilled in me. So I'm just continue giving, training kids, mentoring kids, and hitting the golf ball. I'm out there golfing 3 times a week.
Well, I don't play golf. We know somebody that does, who's a pretend superstar player, as we all know.
I already know you can start talking about them balls.
Don't push him there again.
Eh, what else is new? But it is what it is. But people like people like to play golf. I don't because I don't really. I love to compete, and everybody keeps telling me to go and play golf, but I don't want to embarrass myself. So all
So
that
what do you
stuff.
do during your leisure time? What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Smack people around with the name Jeff. That's what I like to do.
Okay. Well, then we might need to have you call Logan Paul so you can go smack somebody named Jeff.
I would love to. I've called those two guys out many times. I would love to box one of them. I did box for many years, and I actually know what I'm doing. I'm not saying that Mike Tyson doesn't, but some of the other garbage fighters that they fought are not boxers, and they're just guys that stand up and they like to make money. I'm not gonna take shots at people that like to make money and they'll go out there and fight, superstars or ex-basketball players or MMA fighters, but fight somebody that actually can defend themselves. And that's something that they don't know how to do. So I've taken shots at them, and we'll see. Maybe after Mike Tyson's fight, Jake Paul will actually fight a no-name guy that'll actually, torch him in the ring. I do believe I could. So it's not even a question in my eyes. But hey, you know what? Anything's possible. You could be in my corner, right? If that ever happens,
I'll be your cut man, Mick.
there you go.
But
Cut
the thing
me,
is,
Mick.
people
Cut
don't
me.
understand that there's a difference between fighting and boxing.
100%.
Okay, boxing is a craft. Boxing is you train to hit and not be hit. Okay, it's body movement and position. It's not haymakers. It's quick flex muscles that you have to be able to use when you're punching someone. And you don't always punch for the head. A lot of times when I was in the boxing ring,
Body. Yep.
I'm body and I'm punching your glove. Because if your glove is that I'm punching that, and if I keep jarring your fist into your elbow, it's going to make your punches weaker. So now you're not going to be able to defend yourself to the body. Now, once the hands drop, now I can go to the head. So there's a difference between boxing and fighting. And I think a lot of these guys that are going into these rings, they're going with the mentality to fight. that's not going to help you win. You have to go in there to box.
You're right, and it's all about footwork, and like you said, it's not only hitting to the head. You can hit at the shoulders because hey, if you're hitting the shoulders, your arms are going to get tired. If you your hands are going to drop. That opens opportunities where you can throw combinations to the body and open up your face to getting a hook or a right cross, left cross, depending on how you fight, and also fighting southpaws and right-handed fighters or even ambidextrous fighters are very hard, as we've seen over the years. Those ambidextrous fighters are the ones that are very scary to fight because you don't know when they're going to fight lefty or righty. As we've seen one of them, torch another superstar fighter just recently in Errol Spence, who everybody, including yours truly, thought Errol Spence was going to win, and obviously he didn't. He got torched, and that's what
That
happened.
Crawford is a different type of boxer because if you watch where he has his feet planted, he's against a lefty, you're always taught to have your right foot outside of his foot.
Yep.
Right? So that you can move away from the punch. If your foot is inside, you're going to move into it. So Crawford is a master tactician in the ring, and I've seen him fight in person, and it's a joy to watch. There's a lot of good fighters out there. Gervonta Davis, great fighter, position. I like the improvement of Canelo right now. I'm not sold on Ryan Garcia right now. He has a lot of weaknesses where he keeps his head up too high. A lot of times it's not tucked into his chest. So, yeah, man, I'm a boxing fan. I love the craft of boxing.
Well, we really appreciate everything that you do, especially what you're doing with your organization and trying to help people. That's very, very important. And again, every time we have you on the show, we learn a little bit more about you and the boxing end of it. And we'll have you on again. And guys, please reach out to Chris. He's doing some great things over there. And now in Jacksonville, he's doing so many great things and raising money and helping the poor. And Charles is doing that too. Charles Oakley is doing that too. So I'm sure you're moving forward. You guys will probably be working together. I love what Charles is doing as a chef. I didn't even know that he was a big food critic, but he actually is. So it's an amazing thing, and I really appreciate all the stuff that you guys are doing, not only offset of the basketball industry, but right now trying to help people, try to get back on their feet. So thank you, Chris, as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna get with Oak, and we make it to the next round. We play Boston. I'm gonna see if he'll, come to a game, and even if he doesn't go in the arena, maybe we can have a cook-off outside of Madison Square Garden.
That would
for the
be
fans.
so funny, man. I'd love to come and host it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Chris Childs and Charles Oakley. Screw you, James. We're gonna cook you to sleep, baby. Where's the music? Where's the music, James? Oh, I'm sorry. You gotta pay for people to come into your freaking Madison Square Garden.
that would be awesome, man. I'm gonna talk to Oak because I think that we got to get back to the fans, man, and be creative and just have fun with it. We don't have to charge anybody. We get the food, go out there and cook, and have people just come and reminisce and talk trash and heckle us, and we'll heckle them. We'll throw hot dogs at their head and buns or whatever, man. Let's have fun with it.
Speedy likes buns, right, Speedy?
Uh-oh.
He
Here we
likes
go.
big buns. He likes the big buns, right, Speedy?
Speedy buns.
Hot dog.
The speedy buns,
I don't drink a lot of milk.
What was that?
I don't drink a lot of milk. I'm not licking anyone.
Welcome to the world of the soundboard, Chris. This is how you shave.
Unfortunately, no,
that's
I'm not
awesome.
embracing it.
That's awesome. All right,
Anyways,
guys.
I keep up the good work, and listen, if you are going to go there, we'll get the shirts ready. Screw Dolan, and we'll get the Knicks sign on the back, and when the fans come out when we win a game against the Celtics, I'll be throwing those shirts out. We'll be throwing the hamburgers, and Speedy will be smacking the asses like they
Smacking
were
the
buns. Yeah,
Smacking the
smacking the
speedy
buns.
Slap that ass.
All right, guys. Thanks again, man.
Chris Childs, ladies and gentlemen, ex-New York Knick, former Net, former Raptor, fantastic personality, great interview as always, and great personality as well. So love what he's doing right now, trying to help the poor. And I would love to see a cook-off with him and Charles Oakley at Madison Square Garden. Me host the show. Why don't we bring Fish and Scoops in before we go? You know, it's so funny and it's so entertaining when you have somebody like that on the show. And something that I would love to do is like host something like that and really piss James Dolan off. Why wouldn't I love to piss James Dolan off? Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the world's famous arena with Charles Oakley and Chris Childs, who, by the way, are not invited to hang out with Latrell Sprewell, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, and whatever idiot Knicks are still there. Round of applause. And then like Speedy, you could come and we'll get some buns and you can smack them.
No, I'd rather eat them.
Oh, I figure that's what you would like to do.
It is a cook-off.
It is a cook-off. I mean, you can smack them, eat them, whatever you want to do.
That is the idea of a food critic that Charles Oakley is.
You know who's also a food critic? You have Jeff, a.k.a. Fat Man himself. And the one and only. And by the way, I love what they're doing. Every time I post something, they're sending it to Facebook so they can erase the the post that I have on our feed. Oh man, don't you love Jeff and Snug being the idiots that they are? They're just a bunch of morons. It definitely sells to who they are as people. I just love them. Just the terrors that they are. Figures that. Anyways, what are your thoughts? We're going to get into the Jets and the Giants, obviously schedules tomorrow. I don't want to get too deep into it right now. Obviously, I don't want to drag this show off to 11 o'clock at night. I know we all have things to do. Jeff and Snug don't, obviously. One likes to soak himself in his little, piss pot of a pool, and the other one likes to stuff himself with cupcakes. So I'm sure they have nothing else better to do. So, hey, if they want to talk about the schedules of their team, oh, I forgot. Jeff's a Jet fan. That's a joke. It figures that two idiots love each other so very much. They should be hanging out with each other more often instead of, attacking people and trolling people during a live show. So that's typical Jeff and Snug, aka the cat of the idiots. Anyways. Boys, what did you guys think of Chris Childs?
Oh man, he's great. I loved him as a kid. That team, was a tough team. It's probably why I love this team that we see right now with the grittiness that we have. It was those Childs era teams, and he, was the face of that toughness. He was undersized, but like as you saw, we watched him, literally step up to Kobe and give him that boxing two-piece that he was talking about, and Kobe got knocked back, man. Let's face it. He was a better fighter than Kobe. Kobe didn't know what he was getting into on that one. So it was a lot of fun to watch them. The physicality. It just brings back great memories. And he's just so like calm, cool, and collected about all the violence and fighting that used to happen. It just makes him scarier. Playing with Oakley. Talking about Oakley not being allowed back in and Childs having his back. Who would step to those two guys? What if they show up to MSG? They're going to stop him from going in?
Some very tall security guards.
Yeah, good luck.
At that point, what do you get? Just 7-foot SWAT members?
Tyson Chandler hired as next MSG security guard.
He can't stop nothing, that guy.
Yeah, well, what can I say? You know what we should have? We should reach out to Jeff, and on the card of the Jake Paul fight, me and him could go at it. I would love that.
On the undercard, that'll be good.
That'll be a nice undercard. It'll be an overcard because he's fat ass won't even be able to get in the ring. So anytime he wants to do that, I'd love to step in the ring with good old Jeff and give him a nice whacking because he likes to whack off as he loves to do in his private time. So why not me smack him around too? So hey, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Spank it. That's right. Spanking him around, as we always know. Speedy, would you like to spank him?
No. Well, let's go back to the original plan of 2 years ago when Jeff was supposed to fight Tyler, and you were supposed to be the referee, and Anthony Anderosi was supposed to be a judge, and I think the B was supposed to be something else.
He was never going to fight. And you know what? He picks on people that knows they can't defend themselves. I could defend myself. So anytime he wants to get in the ring with me because he's got a lot to say, I'd like to smack the little fat out of his chin. So anytime he wants to do that, I'll be sure to give him a nice ass beating. So if he wants to put up those comments and try to block my comments because he likes to be a smartass, I could be one too. Anyways, thank you. Thank you, Fish, as always, doing what you do best is give us all the great graphics that you do and being our executive producer and adding some content to our show. We really appreciate you as always. Tomorrow we'll get you guys involved with obviously the schedules in the NFL. So there's a lot to get into with that tomorrow. And a lot more. Well, we're going to have a lot more topics, content, and guests, and obviously you, Scoops, for giving us your Sports Minute, giving us some content as well. So and all the fans out there, including all the idiots that we all know that tune in every single day. We still love you, even though I can't stand some of them. But thank you. Keep listening to us. Listen to us on Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. As always, who do we have lined up?
All right, so returning to the show at 8 o'clock, our Steelers friend, Jack Sperry, wanted to come back on around the draft. So
That's
discuss that. He couldn't join the draft panel, unfortunately, but I told him we'd get him on another time, so he'll be on at 8. And then at 8:30, we have a new guy, Marcus Harper. He's the offensive lineman. He played left guard this year for Oregon, so he's teammates with our friend Marco Vidakovich. So he'll be on for the first time in the show at 8:30. Shout out to Brittany Gilman, who we had on the show as his agent, and she helped us facilitate that for Marcus.
It'll be fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Brittany. But Brittany hooked us up?
Yep, Brittany Gilman.
I remember Brittany.
Our sports agent / semi-pro snowboarder we had prior to last year.
That's right. I see all the great things that she's doing, posting up things all over social media and Instagram. So thank you to Brittany for giving us another client of hers. As always, we really appreciate all the time and all the great stuff that everybody has given us throughout the years. And we keep on ticking. And Speedy, you keep on licking, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't like licking? How about the
I'm not licking anyone.
Thank you. Scoops on the soundboard, as always. But anyways, thank you to all the fans. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, this is Errol Marks, Speedy PD, Mr. Fishman, and Tommy Scoops saying good night, and we'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody. That's Wayne's World.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.